Cheering at pro wrestling shows in Japan is back, and 2023 is already shaping up to be a big year in the history of pro res. That's why you should listen to the Emerald Flow Show. From the Royal Road to the Green Mat, Paul and Gerard take you into the world of All Japan Pro Wrestling and Pro Wrestling Noah. Not only do we analyze events, but we examine business, who is getting over, what angles are working or not. Occasionally, we take a look at other Japanese promotions like DDT and Zero One. So if you're looking for more coverage of the world of Japanese wrestling, check out the Emerald Flow Show on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network, available on all of your favorite podcast apps.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
You are listening to the Flagship Podcast with your hosts, Joe Lanza.
I hate the commentators. I hate the ring announcers. I hate the production. I hate the wrestling. I hate the interviews. I hate their promo style. I hate the way the shows are presented. I hate the way the shows are paced. I hate the video packages. I hate everything about this company with every fiber of my being.
And Rich Crage.
You know, he comes out and you're just like, ugh, gross. Like, look at this guy.
Yeah.
In all the best ways possible. He's just the slimiest looking guy you've ever seen. I love him so much. He's so good.
And we are live on the Flagship Podcast. I am Rich. He is Joe. Joe, what's happening? How are you?
Yes.
Actually,
how are you?
I don't care how you are. How's the pup? How is the pup doing after last week's issues?
Man, I should have cleared my throat before we started, huh?
Professional operation here. Yeah. Welcome.
It's crazy. I didn't think of that before we started. Now I can't talk. Hold on. Yeah, so the dog is fine. We'll keep this short because I'm sure some people don't care. But it was vestibular disease, which people can look up if they want to. It can happen to dogs or cats.
Oh, look at the nurse. So the nurse predicted it properly because we had
she was correct. Yeah.
Wow, look at that.
It happens a lot to older dogs, and it's very terrifying when it happens because it definitely looks like it's going to be something more serious with the head tilting and the inability to keep their balance. But there's really nothing you can do except wait it out and let it cure itself. And over the course of the next few days, she got better and better. She's still not all the way there. She's still got a little bit of a head tilt, but otherwise she's herself, never lost her appetite, still eats like an absolute gavoon.
There it is.
And, she's okay. I don't have to bring her back. They said if the symptoms don't go away, bring her back, and then we'll check for some other nefarious stuff. Brain tumors, things like that. But that's not the case. She improved just like they thought that she would. And now it's just something that might flare up now and then, but at least next time we'll know what it is, and it won't be so terrifying. So Madeline is back to her blind, deaf, extremely old, and goofy self.
Still eating though. As long as they're eating, man, that's always as long as they're just chomping down that food, still have that appetite, you're always pretty good. So glad to hear everything's going well with the dog there. So yeah, we're back full boat this week. Plenty to get to in the world of professional wrestling. Oh God, it has been a busy week in wrestling. We have the NWA pay-per-view that we have to talk about.
Why are you laughing? What's so funny?
You're right. There was nothing funny about NWA. Samhain. Why are you going so ween? You got like 8 N's on the end of that. I don't know if there's that many N's.
That's
on
the name of it.
Samhain.
It's
I believe it is. That's what Joe Galley Samhain. But then James Mitchell called it something different, so I actually don't know what this is.
That's what I said. I said Samhain. Samhain.
I feel like that's different than what you said before, but you got that. WWE's got their latest sports washing PLE is this Saturday at the in Riyadh, so we'll talk about Crown Jewel 2023 with LA Knight and Roman Reigns. Can he do it, Joe? Will LA Knight be able to topple Roman Reigns? We will talk about it, predict it, discuss it from all angles. We're going to talk. Oh, if you think strap in for that
so
Crown
funny.
Jewel.
Did you you smoke a joint before the show?
No.
Are you
just
doing the
very
devil's
tired.
lettuce again?
No devil's lettuce
on?
today. Just very tired. Very tired.
You're laughing like a lunatic over there. It's like, did you?
There's nothing funny about
What
wrestling.
is wrong
You're
with
right.
you?
You're right. I got to be serious about this. This is professional wrestling. So.
I mean, I think it's I don't think we've uttered a single word on this show yet about the big Roman Reigns LA Knight match until you just told people we were going to talk about the pay-per-view later.
The what?
That's one of the biggest matches in wrestling, Rich Craich. We haven't talked about that at all.
No.
These weeks.
It's a gigantic match, and we're gonna break it
seems
down.
like you're not into. Seems like you're not into the Roman Reigns versus LA Knight.
Oh,
I'm sensing that.
Quite the contrary, Joe. I am locked in.
You're all fired up for it.
Mohammed Abdu Arena in Riyadh for WWE Crown Jewel 2023 to see if LA Knight can topple Roman Reigns, and I'll give you my big prediction, my Stone Cold lock of the week later if LA Knight is going to be able to do it, if he's going to prevail over Roman Reigns, or if a member of the Bloodline will run in and cost LA Knight the match. But we'll see. We're going to find out on Saturday. But we'll preview that extensively later in the show. So strap in for that. We're going to, a teaser, Joe, is what they call it in the radio business. We're going to give people that little carrot that we're going to talk about Crown Jewel, but you're going to have to wait till later in the show to get to that. And I know people are just going to be
much, much, much later in the show.
For sure. Maybe probably the third hour. So you're going to have to wait a while till we get into any Crown Jewel talk. As well, in the World Wrestling Entertainment, we got NXT Halloween Havoc Night 2. Joe, you watched this show and took copious notes, so you can lead me through it because, gosh darn, I just didn't get the time to watch Halloween Havoc Night 2 this week. So
Hold on a second.
Tried
Wait
like hell to fit it in. I just couldn't get it.
You didn't watch Halloween Havoc Night 2?
I did not. No.
Yeah, it's, you're playing dirty, because what if I were to come on here and say, you know what? Just didn't have time for the Samhain, Rich Craich.
I could lead you through Samhain. I could lead you through it.
You wouldn't feel a little deceived and annoyed?
That
I made you watch Samhain?
For the record, though, I believe even last week I was on record saying I'm not watching Night 2. And you're like, I got to watch it. I got to support the team or whatever bullshit you said. And I was like, no, I'm not going to watch Halloween Havoc Night 2. It's not going to happen. And then later in the week, you're like, Halloween Havoc, I'm not watching it. You're on your own if you're going to watch Halloween Havoc Night 2. So I think I made it pretty clear that I was not going to be able to fit it in, or it was very low on my priority list to fit in NXT Halloween Havoc Night 2. So if that's betrayal, if I swivel the hips and hit you with the chair, Vince Russo style, with the swerve there, I apologize. Not my intent, but I thought I made it clear that I was not going to be watching Halloween Havoc.
You're chuckling and giggling your way through Roman Reigns and LA Knight. You're blowing off Halloween Havoc Night 2. I'm getting the creeping suspicion that you're not all that into WWE right now.
Oh, my God. No.
Have you been found out?
I feel seen, yeah. I won't lie that Vince McMahon's sports entertainment property has not... I'm not as interested in it as I have been in years past. I think you've unearthed something that I've been trying to hide for quite a while, but you nailed it. You nailed it. I Vince McMahon Sports Entertainment Company. I'm just not that into it right now. I'm just not.
Just so the listeners know where you stand.
Yeah, right.
That's all.
Just to be clear, just to be transparent. We're nothing if not transparent around here. So,
I mean, many other places around the internet seem to be enjoying WWE very much. What's your problem, Rich?
I didn't get those press releases though. They never send us those press releases.
Everyone's
always having that fun.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Everyone's always having that fun and tweeting stuff out, and I'm always just like, oh, let's see, maybe. No, okay. Maybe next time.
Yeah, we don't get those press releases.
I get nothing. I've got nothing from that company.
Enough.
I have received not one email correspondent. Maybe one ever when we first started. I got an email correspondent from them. Never since then. Never a reply to a press. I've made press requests over the time over the years for myself and for other people. Never once got a response. Never even a no, go fuck yourself. Never a no, sorry, we're full. Just nothing. Dog. And never a press release. Never a Nick Khan nudge nudge wink wink. Hey, tweet this out thing. Never any of those ever.
Oh, you don't get the Nick Khan text.
No,
messages?
I never get the Nick context messages.
They like to, perpetrate the idea that they're above it and don't pay attention to what's going on with the media, but they have eyes everywhere. They know what's going on.
That's why they don't send us press releases. That's why they don't send us anything. Yeah, because they listen to the show and they read the website, so they are fully aware that not an outlet that needs to be getting any sort of free publicity from us. So yeah.
Nasty Nick knows what's up. He knows what's going on. That man's got his burners. He knows, he sees. So he knows that Rich is just all, I try my hardest. I put in the work and watch Halloween Havoc nights 1 and 2. And give a fair and honest review here. But, Rich just sinks the ship for us all the time with his negativity and his constant slandering of, an honest company that's just trying to put out a good product.
Right, family business. The good old McMahon family business. Yeah, right.
That's right. It's always been a family business. Can't deny it. Going all the way back to Jess.
Yeah.
All the way back to Jess McMahon. So the McMahon family, I have the utmost respect.
Capital
Rich
Wrestling,
Craich, I don't know.
Capital Wrestling dates back all the way to the Capital Wrestling Company. So yeah.
Now we got D-Clan chirping too.
Yeah, TBH dub. D-Clan, I love D-Clan.
Yeah.
Man gets so much press. Has he gotten a yard yet in Indiana? Like even a yard, a play, a snap, anything for D-Clan McMahon?
I don't think he stepped on the field, but
he's got to be on the field. I imagine he's like.
I don't think
you don't think he gets to the field? You don't think he even gets to the field?
No, I mean he hasn't played a snap. That's what stepped on the field.
Okay, so not quite literally stepped on the grass. Like I'm assuming he's in a hoodie on the sidelines, right?
I guess, but he's a freshman. Okay, that's number one.
Right. He redshirted last year.
And you got to be really good to play as a freshman at a D1 school. I mean, it's a Big Ten school. Let's see if he has a carry. You want to see?
I looked. He's got nothing. I do love this note about Declan McMahon, number 37, by the way, on the your Indiana Hoosiers. 2022, redshirted the 2022 season, joined the program as a walk-on during fall camp. So, hey, a walk-on, getting a spot, getting a red shirt, that's not bad. Then, this is the best part, Joe. Co-offensive scout team player of the week against Michigan 10-8. Now hold on a minute. Why is that?
That's like being the assistant to the assistant manager. Right?
Co-offensive scout team player of the week against Michigan. First off, he wasn't playing Michigan. He was pretending to be Michigan so that the team could learn how to, defend certain things, when they were going to play Michigan. I'm sure they got absolutely housed by Michigan that week or whatever. I don't know what the score was, but I'm guessing it didn't go well for the Indiana Hoosiers. He was the co-offensive, so not even the one. It was him and another guy were the scout team player of the weeks, the offensive scout team player of the weeks. Nice job playing the guy that we had tried to tackle so we could figure out what the plays are going to be.
So Declan McMahon was basically Blake Corum all week at practice, the Michigan Wolverines starting running back. And he earned co-offensive scout team player of the week. Why do they even have that award?
I can't believe they have that. I can't believe they even have it.
For people who don't know, like maybe you've seen the movie Rudy, and all those scenes in Rudy where he's just getting his ass kicked in practice, where the real players are just destroying him snap after snap. That's basically what Declan McMahon as a walk-on running back in Indiana is doing. That's what scout team is. So they run the opposing team's plays to get the starters ready for the action on Saturdays. And apparently they give out players of the week on the scout team, which he didn't even win on his own. I wonder who the other guy was that took home the other half of that prestigious honor.
I'd have to click around the roster to figure that out, and I'll be honest, I don't want to do that. So,
do you think he calls home and lets Shane know? You think he makes a call to Shane and Marissa Mazzola?
Yeah.
and lets them know that he was co-scout team player of the week? Or do you think he just that's not worthy of a phone call home?
You think he calls his cousin, a.k.a. Paul's daughter, Aurora, and asks her if she knows? Did you see that quote? It was so weird. Such a weird family.
Yeah. I mean, you referred to his
cousin
name and his cousins.
Yes, Paul's daughter.
I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he knows he's making a public tweet and he doesn't want to use like the insider family names, like, oh, my
cousin
Uncle Paul and my cousin. And I don't know. I'm going to give him a pass. I'm giving Declan a pass for that. I'm going to give him a pass. But we shouldn't be so hard on Declan. He is a walk-on. No. He's a walk-on. I mean, walk-on. He's a walk-on freshman. I mean, he's never going to play. Let's be honest. He's never stepping on. The odds of him stepping on the field on a Saturday are not great. So, I don't know if I don't think he was any kind of big time recruit. We'd have to get Tyler Forness on the call to figure that out. But he's a D1 player. That's top 0.01% of all people who put on pads.
Hey, walking on and getting redshirted, that's not bad. Walking on and just walking on to a D1 school, that's tough. That's not hard. That's not easy to do. So,
and when you're a billionaire, you don't need the scholarship. So instead of going to I guess he could have gone to like a D2 school or a lower division and gotten a scholarship or something. But he's got the money to go to school, so he said, "Fuck it, I'm going to walk on the Big Ten team and see if I can make a Big Ten roster." So, Declan. But yeah, it seems like he's on his way into the biz. I feel like he's planting seeds, Rich.
He's been more active, after being very quiet for all those years. Yeah, Declan starting to show up a lot more, and pictures of him, tweets out, Instagrams. He's getting himself out there.
Michigan beat Indiana 52-7.
Wow.
So,
maybe he was too good at scout team. Maybe he was too good. He was calling his own plays out there. Maybe he was calling audibles and finding, exposing the defense and was getting big yards. And they're like, there you go, pal. But then, ends up not getting them ready for the big game against Michigan.
He wasn't a very effective Blake Corum, it doesn't look like. Or maybe he was Donovan Edwards. I don't know. But, what's interesting is I do notice that Indiana only releases a 2-deep depth chart. So a lot of these teams will put out like Michigan, for example, they've got like a 5-deep, so I can't even tell you how close D-Clan is to playing, because Indiana very,
what I'm going to have to do, I'm going to have to download. They do this. They make new rosters for the NCAA 14. Revamp is what it's called. I don't know if you've ever dabbled in that. So what I'll have to do is download those rosters, fire up a game as Indiana, see what he's rated, see what the people that put those together.
He ain't in that They didn't put him in that fucking game.
RB 37's in that game? Come on.
It's a walk-on freshman. They didn't put him in there.
Oh, I bet they did.
I don't know. He's probably like the 7th or 8th running back on the depth chart.
It probably is. He's probably
right. That's. So I don't know.
Well, I want someone. If someone's listening to this and they have revamp all set up, go to Indiana, look at the RB depth chart, and please let us know if Declan McMahon found his way onto the NCAA video game. Yeah, Declan. Sorry, Declan. Right.
Is it Declan? I thought it was Declan.
I believe it's Declan. I do not believe it's D-Clan, as you like to call him. So
why wouldn't it? It looks like Declan to me.
Sure. Yeah.
Is that an Irish name, like Samhain?
Yeah, I believe it is.
Well, then his name would be like John or something. It would be spelled Declan.
Yeah, it'd be spelled Declan.
Like,
pronounce.
you pronounce it Phil. So I don't know if it's Irish. The McMahons, are they proud Irish or are they just?
I think they were. I don't know if they still are. I feel like a previous generation was proud. I don't know if.
I thought Shane had like 4 kids.
Yeah, there's another boy for sure.
I'm seeing Declan and Kenyon.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
I thought he had like 4. Didn't he come out with like 4 kids at WrestleMania one year?
Maybe they were just friends. I don't know.
I could have swore there were like 4 boys that came out with him.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Oh, so there's Rogan. There's Declan James. They have 3 kids. Declan James, Kenyon Jesse. Little Jess McMahon reference there. And then Rogan Henry. Rogan Henry's only 13, though. So that, he's probably just chilling in the back.
There got to be I think there's a 4th one. I could have swore he came out with 4 kids.
I don't think there is.
Maybe they just, I don't know, sold them for gold or something.
Sold them for Saudi gold.
Is that what billionaires do?
I don't know. I wouldn't know. So. What the billionaires
you know any billionaires?
Not
you
really.
Do. Yeah, you do.
Do I?
Kind of do.
Well, kind of, yeah, sort of. I've talked to a billionaire before, but used to. Don't talk to him anymore.
Yeah, not much these days. Ooh, tugging that collar.
Yeah, right.
Tug on that collar.
Career. Somebody wanted us to talk about Bobby Knight, who passed away. We're talking Indiana, so let's. Do you want to talk Bobby Knight?
Indiana. I mean, Bobby Knight. I mean, arguably the greatest college basketball coach of all time,
and an all-time sports penis. Yeah, all-time sports penis. So,
sports penis.
That guy was just a fucking asshole. So, yeah,
that's all right. He's coach.
I guess. Is it?
That's right. That's character.
All right. Yeah, I think he went. I think a few paces beyond the I'm a coach.
Listen,
when
you go 40 plus years and win 900 plus games and have the last undefeated college basketball team, if you have to choke a kid or two, it just happens. Right. I'm not that worked up about it, honestly. Remember when he threw the chair across the court?
Of course, yeah.
Well, you don't. Well, I think it was before you were born, but you remember seeing footage of him
seen
throwing the chair across.
Yeah.
That was iconic, as they say. My favorite. He's great quotes, but my favorite Bob Knight, and people can look this one up. It's only like a 15-second clip. You ever see the one where he's talking about game face?
I don't think
someone
I ever
asked
have.
him.
Yeah, I don't think I ever have.
Yeah, so a reporter asked him, "Did you guys have your game face today or something?" And he goes,
"Oh, he makes like crunch up faces and stuff, right?"
Yeah, like in all my life, I don't think I've ever spoken about game face. And then he makes a series of these wacky faces for the assorted media, saying like, "What is it? What is game face?" It's a tremendous clip. That's my favorite Bob Knight clip. And there's many great Bob Knight clips. I mean, that guy was extremely quotable.
Oh yeah, but, the famous, bury me upside down so all my haters can kiss my ass or whatever type stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Nah, he was a surly guy, no question about it.
That's a way to put it for sure. Yeah,
tell you what though, all those players coming out. I know he just died, but it's tough love, Rich. It's a little tough love.
Very tough love.
Yeah, a little tough love.
Yeah, a lot of tough love from.
He throttled the one kid. All right, kid, 40 years.
One, it was a couple, but that's all right.
He throttled the one kid, and then the little wise ass on campus was heckling him in the fucking cafeteria or whatever, which led to him getting fired. Why is a little shit heckling Knight? Leave him alone.
He said I called him Mr. He called him what? He called him Bobby or something or Bob.
Nah,
Mr.
like,
Knight. Did he just call him Mr. Knight or something?
Knight. He was calling him
Knight.
Knight. He's like, hey,
right.
Knight. And, he's old school. He's like, show some respect. Throw a Mr. or a coach on there, And I think he throttled him, too. If I'm not mistaken.
He did, yes. As you're going through, you'll discover many examples of Bobby Knight.
You got to throttle some people sometimes. Look, he comes from the CM Punk school. Sometimes you got to throttle a motherfucker, It's, I don't know.
I had a fun fact about Bobby Knight. So obviously he had a prolific, coaching career, many wins, all that sort of stuff. Can you name every NBA player that he had that made an All-Star team? Everybody that went through Indiana all those years. How many dudes did Bob Knight coach that was that ended up being NBA All-Stars?
Well, Isaiah Thomas.
Yep.
I don't think there's many. Allen Henderson, maybe.
Nope.
He was never an NBA. No, he would never be an All-Star.
No. Calbert Chaney, don't worry about it. No, he's not.
No, he wasn't an All-Star. He probably didn't have many because I know a lot of his best players didn't go on to be great pros. Like
right, Scott May wasn't, a great pro.
Damon. Damon. The hell's his name? He was Mr. Indiana, big time recruit. Who I can't think of his name. You don't know what I'm talking about? Damon.
I think
his first name was Damon.
No, you're not Steve Alford. Damon. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I know.
Terrible audio.
Damon Bailey. Damon Bailey.
Damon Bailey. Yeah. See. Yeah. He was not a good pro. I don't even know if he made it.
I don't think he did. I don't even know if he did.
So no, the list is probably very short. I can't think of another one.
Well, you nailed it.
My head. How many?
Isaiah Thomas.
One. Oh, I got the whole list.
You got the whole list, Isaiah Thomas. I was kind of blown away by that after all those years.
It's a great job. Yeah.
Because a lot of
I'm trying
guys
to
don't
see
do
if
there.
Damon-
Yeah, nobody ever quite.
Well, that's the thing about Knight. He recruited specific you couldn't, like, for the reasons we talked about. He wasn't for everyone. I mean, not everyone could play for Knight. You had to be the right kind of personality, and he recruited a certain kind of kid, and he didn't always have the big time recruits, and he was an innovator of the motion offense, and we're not going to get too deep into it, but and no one could stop his motion offense, and then everybody's now it's like when he started running, now everyone copied his motion offense. No one's running that offense anymore, but everyone's shooting threes now. But he's a great coach who got the most out of his kids, and that doesn't surprise me because he wasn't someone who had a bunch of great recruits. So Alan Henderson even go to Indiana? Yeah, he did. All right, I was doubting myself there for a second. But who are some of his other? Let me pull this up. Who were some of his other top players that came out of Indiana while he was
Mike
there?
Woodson was obviously there. Ended up being a great coach, but not a great player.
Yeah.
You think him and Declan ever met? You think they ever cross paths at any point?
No, because Knight's been.
He's been a recluse from Indiana, basically. Yeah,
and also I don't think he's had his faculties for a few years. So Declan, by the time he got there, Knight was Fruit Loops.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I don't think he's been, he would have met him. But
I always forget what exact era that he came in and came out with, because there's guys that I know that are right on the cusp, but like guys like Jared Jeffries, I think they were Mike Davis, right? Type of guy. I want to say that was too late in Knight's run.
Well,
you're looking at. Well, then there was Kelvin and all. Yeah, a lot of Indiana basketball that nobody cares about this.
Bob Knight played in the NBA. Did you know that?
I did not. No, I did not know that.
Yeah, he played for the Knicks. 2 games for the Knicks, it looks like.
That's not
I didn't
bad.
know that either until right this second.
Good for him.
Is that the right Bob Knight? Is that even the Bob Knight?
I assume it is. I'd imagine that there's probably not that many other Bob Knights.
Different Bob Knight. Different Bob Knight.
Damn. All right. Look at that.
Wrong Bob Knight. I thought I unearthed something interesting.
Because I was like, all right, I have no idea, but all right, go for it. Yeah.
No. Wrong Bobby Knight. Yeah. So, he coached Mike Krzyzewski, right?
Yeah, he did.
So he cursed us with that guy for another 40
His
years.
coaching tree's got a lot of annoying people in it too. That all followed his annoying ways. So.
That's exactly it. Yeah, you're annoying. So then you create an annoying
Steve Alford.
tree.
Bad people too.
Yeah.
Not only just annoying people, bad people.
Steve Alford's the bad guy. I didn't know that.
Not a good guy.
Well, what did he do? I don't know. What Steve Alford fucking canceled? Like what's up with Steve?
It depends. Would you call? No, I don't want to get into it. You look it up on.
So you're gonna mock me, but I didn't.
No, look it up on your own. Look, I don't want to get into it. Pierre Pierce, look it up on your own. I don't want to get into it.
Okay.
So.
All right. Okay. Knight got to Indiana in 1971.
Okay.
He left in 2000. So that's the time frame you're looking at. He would throttle me because I'm calling him Knight.
And yeah, he'd tell you to show you some goddamn respect and choke you like he did the players and sports information directors and multiple staff members that worked for him. Yeah, a guy liked to choke some people. So,
gotta command respect, Rich. Gotta command respect.
I guess.
It's a different time. Can't judge. Different time.
I feel like insert, prominent Big East coach wasn't choking everybody left and right. Is Jim Calhoun
I don't know.
choking people all over the place or what?
You don't think John Thompson put his hand around a throat now and then?
Yeah, he probably did. No, I don't think he had to. You know what? No, that dude.
No, Big John.
That man commanded a presence. He just spoke, and you were like, "Yes, sir."
Yeah. You're just terrified immediately. Yeah. Well, there you go. There's our Bob Knight.
Screw him. Yeah, that guy's a turd. Cares.
I like Knight. I enjoyed watching Knight.
Good coach. Bad human, but that's all right.
Great coach. Great pressers.
Good quotes. Good quotes. Good coach. I wasn't plan on getting dinner with the guy, nor is he planning on getting dinner with me. So that probably works out perfectly.
I'd love to have dinner with Bobby Knight.
Well,
I think that'd be very interesting. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, a little late. Yeah. Ah, well.
Anyway, some other stuff we'll talk about on this ridiculous show here.
It's a weird segment.
This is such a weird segment. New Japan Fighting Spirit Unleashed. We talked to Indiana Hoosiers. We had to go Bobby Knight. We were there. We had to do it. Fighting Spirit Unleashed, as well as the New Japan Power Struggle coming up this weekend as well as some MLW releases. Some big names leaving MLW. We'll see if there's anything to that. Kind of dig in a little bit. If there's just kind of a random coincidence that these people are leaving, or if there's something more afoot in the world of MLW that we all know, of course, does not stop. But we're going to start this week's show talking about the world of AEW, and mainly wanted to review and talk about the Kenny Omega MJF match from Collision last Saturday. MJF defeating Kenny Omega in 30 minutes and 13 seconds to retain the AEW World title. With that win, he staked his claim as the longest reigning AEW champion of all time. I think he passed it sometime, a couple days after that. And the match currently has, and this is when I got these notes. I don't know if that's changed since then, but right now has a 9.3 rating on Cage Match as just an exceptional match. And, before we talk about the rating, which we're going to get to in a little bit, let's just kind of strip all that off and strip the business aspect of that off and just talk about the bell-to-bell of Omega versus MJF, because I thought it was a fantastic match. I love that match, and it is still something that AEW can do better than most other people can do, is provide that sort of wrestling on a television show, on a free television show. Just never been done. I mean, no other professional wrestling in America, no other professional wrestling company in America is giving you those sort of matches ever on free television. And yeah, here it is, 30 minutes, 13 seconds. Great work from both guys. Big spots, and a relatively clean win. I mean, you had Callis come in and obviously distract Omega after the V triggers, and as Omega's starting to do the One Wing Angel. So clean, maybe, if you want to put a little caveat on the clean there, because Omega probably had the win, quote unquote, but he didn't exactly have it. It wasn't like Callis came in and low blowed him and then MJF rolled him up after that. Like, Omega got distracted, then they had a bunch more time of the match, and then MJF then sort of got the win after that. So I'm going to call it clean for the most part. And then they shook hands afterwards. MJF locked in the stake as the longest reigning AEW champion of all time. And yeah, I thought it was a fantastic match, and I thought a pretty good episode of Collision again, which has been, to me, a really, really good show as of late. I think Rampage and Collision, I've been big fan of what those two shows have been. We'll talk about Dynamite in a little bit. Not so much of a fan of what's been going on with Dynamite, but I thought the last couple Rampages have been good. I thought the last couple of Collisions have been good, and I thought Omega and MJF was phenomenal as a main event. What did you think?
That was a great match. Yeah, I wouldn't call it an entirely clean finish. I mean, they had Callis come down. They had Omega keep his heat because he had MJF set up for the One Wing Angel, and he was going to put him away. And Callis came down, and he was going to win the match at that point if Callis hadn't come down. That's what they were telling you.
Yes.
So that's how they protected Kenny Omega with the finish, which you knew they were going to do something, since it was a TV match and all of that. But no, I thought it was a great match. It was one of, I'd have to go back and look at my notes, but definitely one of the best television matches this year, maybe the best television match this year. One of the best matches that they've ever had on their television, I think. And they've had some really great ones. It's definitely in the conversation, I would say. I had it 4 3/4. I thought it was a really great match. I never thought about going 5. So it wasn't just, the Callis stuff that influenced the rating. I didn't think I never
got that
going
level.
5.
No, it never got that level. It didn't, which is, it's a TV match for free on free television. That's not bad. You know what I mean? To because I'm right with you. I was 4.5.
Great. It was incredible match.
Phenomenal match. Phenomenal match.
Yeah. So, from that standpoint, as a standalone match, it was great. And, we talked about them hot-shotting it on last week's show, and you had some really strong feelings on that. And, they clearly wanted to counter everything that was going on. I think they had the World Series game and 2 gigantic college football games. You had the Colorado game, whoever they were playing.
UCLA.
Deion Sanders games are all a big draw. Yeah, and then what was the other game? It was
Ohio State, Wisconsin. Yeah, Ohio State, Wisconsin.
Yeah. So 2 huge college football games and the World Series game head to head. So they hot-shotted the match, and
plus a tough Saturday as well. The Saturday before Halloween, big bar night, big party night. It's a tough TV night.
Yeah, for sure. And to some degree it worked, because if you look at the quarter hours, people popped in and got off of whatever else they were watching to come in for that match. You know, there's a clear pattern there. And, you know, they probably saved Collision from doing an extremely dire rating. It didn't do a great rating anyway. They saved it from doing, that match saved it from doing an absolutely dire rating. And that was the whole point. And, you know, we can debate, and we kind of did last week, whether there was merit to that, whether you just kind of eat the L on a week like that, or if you fight back and schedule a huge match. And they opted to do the huge match to kind of mitigate the damages of how bad that number was going to be. And to me, that's just indicative of what we've seen recently from Tony Khan. He's been making a lot of these last minute hot shot desperation moves, either to sell tickets or to drum up, rating interest in the show, you know, whether it's booking Mystico to last minute in Texas. And that worked to some degree, you know, pushing an extra 1,000+ tickets, bringing in Okada at the very last second, you know, in Philadelphia without advertising him much beforehand to try to sell some tickets. Saying he had a big announcement last night on Dynamite, which typically helps pop a number, and it turned out not to be such a big announcement, announcing how to sign up for a pre-sale
for tickets,
for a show next year. I mean,
in a different country than where most people are watching it on. Yeah, it was an odd one. It was an odd one for sure.
I mean, certainly that's worthy of being announced on your television.
Of course.
To wrap it up, But to wrap it up in the package of a major announcement, see, all that really did was, okay, let's say Excalibur makes that announcement himself in between the matches, or even if Tony Khan himself comes out with a microphone at some point during the show unannounced and makes that announcement with Nigel McGuinness, I think people's reactions are, oh, okay, that's great. The all-in tickets we know the all-in date, and we know the date the tickets are being sold, and all right, that's cool. But because you told everyone that you had a major announcement, now the reaction to the same exact announcement is negative because you oversold it. So, from that standpoint, you took something that would have been something that people thought was just, all right, something that was cool, or something that was, all right, now we know how to get tickets for this thing, and that nobody would have trashed. But because of the way you presented it, now everybody is burying it. And that's on them. But it's just another example of Tony Khan sort of showing that he's thinking about this lack of ticket sales, and he's thinking about the spotty television ratings. And I thought that I think it's pretty obvious that the Omega MJF match on that short notice was another example of that, and they chose to burn it off. And I know you're more wrapped up in it than I mean, look, I think their pay-per-views, is that a pay-per-view match? Yes, it is. Do I think they have plenty of other pay-per-view matches they can do, and do I think all their pay-per-views are going to do good numbers until they stop presenting all-time great pay-per-views? I do. So from that standpoint, I don't know if I love giving away the match on a couple days' notice just to save one Collision rating from being terrible, from being, to ensuring that one Collision rating, instead of being terrible, that it's just merely bad. Like, okay, but that's the decision they made.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that have to negotiate a TV contract in a couple months, so maybe that's why they did it.
Yeah, it's and we got the final ratings, and it was from WrestleNomics here. AEW Collision Saturday on TNT was watched by 472,000 viewers on average, including about 175,000 aged 18 to 49 for a .13 18 to 49 rating. This week's Collision was down 9% compared to last week's total viewership, which was 518,000. And among viewers 18 to 49, viewership was down 17% from last week's .16 rating. So with those numbers in mind, and the idea, okay, they wanted to make sure that this wasn't an all-time terrible, terrible, terrible Collision rating. Let's realistically say they don't have Omega and MJF on this show. what's the lowest that you think a Collision can go? Like what numbers are we saving here that are going to look better on a spreadsheet, better on a negotiating table, better on whatever? Because, you know, they got 472,000 viewers on average and a 0.13 in the demo. That's not good. You know what I mean? It's still a bad rating in a lot of ways. Would it have been that much worse? Would it be 300,000 and a 0.10? Is that enough to do? You know, that, and that's where I always had this calculation about this match is like, okay, I absolutely see the point of it. I see why you want to have MJF and Omega there. You want to do it on this weekend because you want to make sure that you ensure that you're not going to get absolutely slaughtered by the World Series and college football and just a busy weekend for people, you know, the Saturday before Halloween. I get all that. I understand all that. But the idea of doing it on the 3 days notice always bothered me because it's like, well, on one hand, is it important to not get slaughtered on this Collision? Well, if it was that goddamn important, why weren't you thinking about this 2, 3, 4 weeks ahead of time and saying, well, hey, that's a big weekend, so let's make sure that we put some muscle behind this match and make sure people are well aware that we're having this match on this Saturday so that they can change their plans or alter their plans or whatever. When you do it 3 days beforehand, and people could say, oh, they actually, Rich, they were talking about it 2 weeks. They announced the fucking match 3 days before. You could have inferred that maybe the match was going to happen before that, but you did not know until this week's the week before Dynamite, the Go Home Dynamite, that was going to be a match that was going to happen on Saturday. So shut up about, oh, well, being the Elite, they said it. And no, 3 days notice. I didn't say 3 days build. I said 3 days notice. But with that said, like, okay, so you do it on the 3 days notice, hoping that you're going to be able to pop some, you know, numbers or keep this thing away from tanking. I mean, how many people do they keep on the show? Like, are we looking at 100,000? Like, what's the lowest that this Collision could have gone in your mind, Joe? Are we looking at 350,000, 300,000? What's the lowest of the low number?
Just look at the average before that match. Do you have the let me pull those quarters up.
You can grab it. I don't think if that's the number, then I don't think it was worth it to do it on a 3 day build then. If you're trying to retain an extra, you know, maybe 150,000 people.
No, I listen, I don't necessarily disagree. You know, it's just they're in scramble mode right now. That's what this is. I mean, you know, that's what this is. Here's the quarter hours for Collision. So, yeah, the show was averaging. Here's the quarters leading into that match. 465, 442, 436, 447, 424, and 448. No, they were averaging about, let's call it, high 440s for the show. And then the final 2 quarter hours, which was the match, did 546 and 567. So the match did about 100,000 extra viewers versus the rest of the show. Which
is that going to make or break a TV deal? Is that make or breaking a TV deal?
No, when you're doing less than 500,000 viewers over, I mean, it did about, let's call it, you know, they increased their viewership by a little over 20% for the final 2 quarter hours. And, you know, it was the highest, obviously, the 2 highest quarter hours in the demo as well. The only 2 quarter hours that cracked over 200,000 viewers in the demo. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, you know, I don't love the decision either. I'm just not sure, you know, so overall it ended up averaging 472,000 viewers and 175,000 in the 18 to 49 for that 0.13. So the show probably would have done, I don't know, somewhere between 440 and 450,000 viewers and somewhere between, you know, about 100 and high 150s and you know, about 100, let's call it 160,000 viewers in the demo. Had they just had a standard main event that would have done similar numbers to the rest of the show. So that's what you have to determine. Was it worth it to bump the number about, you know, an extra 20 to 25,000 on the total,
mm-hmm.
you know, on the total viewership average? I don't know. They felt it was.
They felt it was.
Because,
yeah, and that's the thing that's perplexing to me is that if this was a big weekend, because I totally understand your standpoint or everybody saying, well, hey, you're trying to combat that. I get that. I'm not against putting a big match on TV. I think AEW should put more big matches on TV. I've said that since day one. I love, we love. I mean, those are some of our favorite shows to do is the big time Dynamites where they put a big time match on it. We do an instant reaction live afterwards, and so many of those shows ended up being really, really good shows and led by match of the year contender level matches on TV. I have no problem with that. I'm not saying they only have to have big matches on pay-per-view. It's just if this was truly a big weekend that they cared about, then why did it seem so put together and so haphazard and so desperate?
That's the angle to approach this. If they had built this match for a month and a half, I think it could have done an even bigger number.
Because then you change your plans. Then you say, "Oh shit, I was supposed to." Someone says, "Hey, you want to go do this on Saturday?" No, sorry, I'm watching. I got me and my buddies are watching Collision or whatever.
It's not even a matter of not giving people time to change their plans. It's just a matter of making it feel like a much bigger match.
Yeah.
When you put muscle behind a match for a month and a half and make it feel like it's going to be the biggest match in the universe, it's going to feel bigger and more people are going to make it a point to watch it. That's just, no one can dispute that. That's just wrestling promoting 101, and like you're saying, people can say that, oh, well, they were talking about it this was a very short, it was a hot shot. It was a hot shot bill. Okay. And that's the problem here. If they knew they were going to do it and didn't even bother hinting at it or building it until the last 10 days. That's malpractice.
I'd like to know that. I'd like to know if they knew it and they waited or if they didn't know it. And because I don't know, I think there's different levels to that. Like, I don't think either of them are like, I think the end result is we got a really good match that didn't really matter that much in the ratings. But I would love to know if it was something that they had in the holster and they're like, no, we'll do it last minute. And I would kind of ask them, why did you feel it'd be better to wait last minute? Or is it something that they absolutely had no idea until a couple weeks ago and then, just hot shotted it? Because that's also bad too. It's just like, I just would love to know what is going on in that room. And are they, because we've always talked about that AEW has been a very last minute promotion. And there's data that reflects that, hey, building these pay-per-views in the last week or on the go home show works out well. It actually works out better for us. It's, we get a lot of last minute buys, we get all that sort of stuff. But this one, I have a tough time believing that this was a good idea to do this on such short notice.
Yeah, so was this a deliberate strategy to announce
I don't know.
It late? Or did it really come? And which is worse? I don't know.
I guess I'd like to know so that I could actually then wrap my head around it and maybe determine which one is worse. Because I don't think either scenario is good, but there's probably one that's worse than the other, and I don't know which one that is just yet.
Barely 4,000 people in the building, 4,100 people for Dynamite last night in a 20,000 seat basketball arena. So, look, we know the struggles they're having selling tickets. Now they are selling tickets to their pay-per-views. Full Gear is going to get to at least 10,000, I think.
Yes. And it's definitely charting that way right now. Full Gear looks pretty good. I don't know if it's going to be 100% solid like their last, Kia Forum show was, or the last big time show they did there, but it's charting well.
Look,
it is absolutely charting well.
I'm not going to be too hard on them, but at the same time, I'm not going to do cartwheels if 11,000 people are there either. I mean,
we actually have an update on World's End, by the way. Do you want that? Just came out an hour ago from WrestleTix. World's End. That's the December 30th show from Nassau Coliseum. First count. Current setup is, and this is per WrestleTix again, 6,173. They have sold 4,256 for that as well. So only just under 2,000 tickets left. So it's not bad. I don't know. They're not selling the upper deck though.
Man, the bar has been lowered.
They're not selling the upper deck though. So it's
if that's considered a good start, the bar has been significantly lowered.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
if you've got the building set up for 6,200 fans, and look, I'm sure they'll get there if we're at 42 already. So they'll probably open some up. But this is a show that I question whether this can get to 10,000. Full Gear will. And this is MJF's backyard. This is where they've presented this in the past as him coming home and all those sorts of things. So, and he's the top star and the world champion, and you're setting this baby up for 6,200 fans. And he just had a world title match against Kenny Omega that drew 4,000 fans. A hop, skip, and a jump away in Connecticut. I mean, my silence says it all. I don't know. Is this a referendum on this guy? This guy doesn't push tickets. I'm ready to say that. This MJF title reign does not sell tickets. Is that harsh? I don't think it is.
No, I mean we're living it. We're seeing it happen right now. I mean, we're living in it right now. It's not selling tickets. The buildings aren't being set up to sell a bunch. It's certainly been it has been over the last couple of months. I mean, that has been maybe to me the biggest thing that I've looked at with AEW is the ratings are. They're mostly flat. You know what I mean? They're okay. They're not going up. They're not going down. They're spotty. Sometimes they're good. Sometimes they're bad. They're usually not good. They're usually just kind of maintaining for the most part. It's like,
they're not growing.
Right.
They're not growing.
You see a rating and you go, all right, that's about what they've been doing before. Okay.
His quarters always do good.
Right. But man, those ticket sales they've been tricky. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I mean, Friday Night SmackDown is going to be at Barclays December 1st. Set up for 10,000. They've already sold 8,000.
Yeah. I mean, it's, and the pay-per-views still do well in terms of pay-per-view buys because I think it's because the pay-per-views are always great. So, until the pay-per-views cease being great, I think people feel like they're going to get their money's worth when they buy a pay-per-view. But if we start seeing signs that people aren't buying the pay-per-views as much either, I mean, I don't know. This has not been a great championship run.
It hasn't.
It hasn't been.
Creatively, business-wise.
I don't know if you can't call it a complete disaster. I mean, he does pop a quarter hour. There are some minor, allegedly these brochacho t-shirts and whatnot are, sell very well by their standards, but you cannot call this a great title run. And it's been the longest one. And he certainly has put his rubber stamp on it. This is his baby. And it just is not working. And the question is, does it ever catch on from a business standpoint? It took the Bloodline a while. About 2 years, in fact. Took a long time. Does this ever catch on? I don't know, Rich.
I don't know either. Yeah, it's hard to say. And another real quick ticket note while we're talking about him, the Kia Forum, which you mentioned in Inglewood, that's where they're doing Full Gear. The Full Gear number is doing well, but the Collision the night before, not doing well. So much so, it looks like they lopped off. They were selling the upper deck, and they lopped it off a lot. So now they are only set up for 4,848 for the Collision the night before, 2 nights before, for the Kia Forum. So another just right now there's 3,153 tickets distributed for that. There's still plenty available, almost 1,500 available. But yeah, they had per WrestleTix 202 tickets sold in the upper deck, and they just said we're going to give you guys other seats and lopped off the upper deck. No longer available to buy. So I don't know.
Asking this company to do back-to-back nights in the same city or the same building
at a
is a
big
huge
building
ask right now.
Big old building.
They used to be able to do that.
Yeah.
They don't have hot enough acts to do that.
No.
That's the bottom line. Okay, they just don't. This MJF stuff is not hot enough to support that. And honestly, I don't think for Full Gear, I mean, that's Southern California. I don't even think necessarily. I mean, do you feel like the Jay White MJF match is selling 11,000 tickets in Southern Cal? I mean, I guess you have to credit the main event that everyone has known has been happening for weeks, but my gut tells me people aren't super interested in that match. But I don't know. Where do you stand on that?
The main event of Dynamite did not lead me to believe that people are super into that match. But you sort of
they're more interested in whether he was going to scissor with the
right, exactly. And you kind of and you did it on this week's TV reviews, which by the way a fantastic episode of the Thursday Dynamite reviews this week at flagshippatreon.com, patreon.com/voices of wrestling, voicesofwrestling.com/patreon. One that you definitely, if you were listening to this, definitely do not make sure you do not skip this week's Thursday Dynamite review. But you kind of echoed a lot of the thoughts that I had about that show, and one of the big things that I've noticed as of late, and you reflected on it as well, is that AEW crowds are starting to get a little bit into that cheering for the entrance, cheering for a finish, and then cheering for a move that's meant for them to cheer type of stuff. So, guy's entrance music plays, big pop. The guy comes out,
the in-ring, the bell to bell, once the bell rings, not too much. And last night's crowd was a bad crowd in general, but I've noticed this the last couple of weeks as well. In-ring, back and forth, they don't really care. But then you do something. You do a kangaroo kick. You do then the crowd's kind of into it again. You do your signature spots, your things. Your Daniel Garcia does his dance. MJF does his kangaroo kick or whatever. And the fans are into it. And then they're kind of out of it again. And then it's not until the finish, and then they care again. And that's just not how their crowds used to be for a very, very long time. Their crowds were very much invested in the bell to bell and popping at the bell and getting excited about the actual in-ring and the back and forth and kickouts and that sort of stuff. And they're just not that much into that much. I mean, MJF and Omega, they were all invested in that match. They were all in on that match. That's a big time match. I would certainly hope they are. But to your point about, Jay White and MJF, like they weren't, the interactions between those two, I didn't notice that the crowd was super hot for any of the interactions between the guys. And oh my God, is MJF finally going to get his hands on this Jay White guy? Oh, is Jay White guy? I didn't sense that at all. So yeah, to your point, it doesn't feel like a super hot main event right now. Will it get hot soon? Will it get hot in the next couple of weeks? I don't know. The tickets are sold, are selling. So it is looking like it is going to be a pretty good crowd for that. But I am curious what the reaction is live, because, to me, and I think I got a pretty good radar for this, I don't feel like there's a whole lot of anticipation for MJF versus Jay White. As far as a match, as a big-time, money-drawing main event match, it just doesn't feel like it has that oomph that a lot of AEW pay-per-views do. And we'll see, when the time comes, but I just don't feel it that way that I felt it for so many other big-time, main events of AEW, where it's like, oh, yeah, that is a match that people just cannot wait for, and they're buying their tickets for. And once that bell rings, people are going to go nuts. I'm just not getting that vibe with MJF and Jay White right now. Maybe that changes in the next couple of weeks, but the story's been very convoluted. It's been. You brought up a great point in the Thursday Dynamite reviews as well. Why do I, as a viewer, give a shit about this devil? The devil attacked Jay White one time. Jay White is no worse for the wear. He's always wrestling. He's back. You know what I mean? It's not like this devil comes out and attacks people all the time. It's not like the devil one time attacked somebody, and that guy that he attacked is just back on TV and like nothing ever happened. Yet we're supposed to be completely and fully invested in the whodunit of the devil.
Why? Yeah,
I don't care.
Why would anyone? Why would anyone care who the devil is?
Like, if the devil had been attacking people for months on end, and it's like, this fucking devil has been running roughshod over AEW and ruining main events and taking guys out and injuring people. The devil, he or she or they or whatever the fuck this devil is, attacked somebody one time, and that person was back like a week and a half later and has been back ever since.
And they attacked Jay White, a heel. Who cares?
Right. Yeah, we are, as an audience, supposed to be sitting there going, could it? Is Roderick right?
Well, the thing is, the thing about it is,
who cares? Who fucking cares?
Well, Jay White doesn't even care.
No, the guy who got attacked does not care. He's got the fucking belt, and he's walking around with the belt. He cares about the belt. He's like, this fucking title matters, man. I don't give a shit about the.
Jay White never talks about the devil. It's always fucking Roderick Strong in his stupid wheelchair and Adam Cole and MJF. And it's why, as a viewer, there was a couple week stretch there where the devil wasn't mentioned at all. And I forgot that they did that storyline until they mentioned it again. And then they went 3 weeks without mentioning the devil. And then they mentioned it. And I was like, oh yeah, they did that devil thing with Jay White. Like, I forgot.
Right. And now all we see the devil is the quick little jump cut with the devil, and it's like, I don't care. Yeah. The devil's not doing anything. The devil's just so a person on the show. Why do I care who the devil is? The devil isn't doing anything to elicit me to care about them. Similar to a lot of the Roderick stuff. Why do I care if these idiots, these goofballs, are friends with each other? I don't care.
Because it's funny.
But why do I care if Adam Cole is friends with Roderick Strong? Why does Joe Sixpack give a fuck about these guys being friends with each other? I don't.
Well, you're supposed to think it's funny.
That's a barrel of laughs. Yeah, I'm supposed to. Okay,
it's hilarious. It's hilarious stuff. Did you see they have the giraffe? It's hilarious.
Yeah, and Matt Taven's now wearing a giraffe shirt. Oh boy, who could have possibly seen that coming? That he would fully lean into the draft thing. But I don't want to get into that part of this. It's just like the part about the devil that you pointed out was perfect, because it's like, a lot of this story, it's a more important story to MJF than the fucking world title match with Kenny Omega. You know what I mean? The world title match with Kenny Omega was like a blip on the radar, but it's all this, Roger cares who the devil is, and Cole cares who the devil is, and people ask, MJF all the time, hey, who is the devil, or do you know about the devil, and all this stuff about the devil. And it's like the devil appeared one time, attacked one person, the person that it attacked doesn't care, and okay.
Shouldn't Jay White be the one that cares? And
yes.
Why did these guys
Jay
care?
White should be the only person that cares about the devil, and he cares the least amount about it. Why does Roderick Strong care about the devil? Why does MJF care about the devil? I guess MJF cares because people keep saying it's him, and he keeps saying it's not him. Who cares? It attacked one person, one time. Who cares? I feel like I lost like 6 weeks of TV that I think never happened, right? The devil didn't attack anybody else, right? Did I miss that?
No, the devil didn't attack anybody else.
One time, and then it looked at the screen, and then it went away for a couple weeks.
I would like,
and
the
now
devil,
it goes a couple times a show, and then we're done. Great.
The cornball MLW stuff, like what they used to do with Contra. That's what the devil is. With the bad like static.
The Fiend. The Fiend used to do that too. Remember?
Yeah.
Or the Bray Wyatt stuff. Go away, and it's like, oh, okay.
This is so stupid.
Cool.
Such a waste of time. I don't know why anyone's supposed to be invested in that at all. They've just done a piss poor job with trying to make people give a shit.
And is that supposed to be a major tentpole for this Full Gear match? Is kind of wrapping up my entire point here. So the tentpoles of this match at Full Gear is, briefly we had the quarters thing, and then we got rid of the quarters thing. So I don't count that. That doesn't matter, right? That
was just for juice. That was just for the juice.
Right. Well, I thought it was sort of to heat, the rivalry up between MJF and the Bullet Club Gold or whatever. But that's we're done with that. We moved on.
It was, but I think whether even if they hadn't abandoned ship on the quarters,
he would have just beat him. He would have just beat him.
I think the quarters thing would have ended with the Juice match.
Right.
Whether they, you know what I mean? But instead they pivoted to Juice having the fake ring. So Cupid Zirconian. Like they pivoted to that.
Right.
Instead of, so that replaced the quarters.
Right.
But either way, we're done with that.
So
that
we're done
was
with
just
that.
To counter the Dynamite Diamond Ring.
Right.
Yeah.
So then now we have the Jay White has the title. He stole the title. So I guess that is the tentpole that we're going to see here is, can MJF get his hands on the physical title belt again? Plus the devil, kind of, sort of. Not really. Because
the devil,
one of the guys doesn't give a shit about the devil. The guy that should give a shit about the devil doesn't give a shit because the devil only appeared one time, and he kind of shrugged it off and was like, whatever.
Well, I think the devil's going to get involved in the match, obviously.
Sure.
Right?
Oh, of course.
Oh, right.
But the devil... Great.
This is...
Get into
what
it.
This
All
is?
right.
This is like the Black Scorpion, but worse.
Right.
Like, at least the Black Scorpion was like built fairly well, right? Like you'd get the Ole Anderson voice booming from the ceiling every show, and Sting, I'm from your past. Sting,
Right. There was a while where he's like, I knew you before you were Sting. I knew you back in California.
Yeah.
Like, and
Los
people were like,
Angeles.
I wonder if it's the Ultimate Warrior. Oh, maybe it's like a UWF thing or whatever.
Well, they 1,000% wanted you to think it was the Ultimate Warrior.
Right.
That was the idea, but the point here is, as bad as the Black Scorpion was, this is so much worse and less fleshed out. Like there's nothing.
Well, and also the Black Scorpion was stalking Sting constantly for months on end. Sting would be in a wrestling match, and the Black Scorpion would appear and steal a young lady from the crowd, and then chop her in half or whatever. Or he'd, make somebody disappear, or he'd make noises, or he'd cut promos, or Sting would be in a match, and all of a sudden the Black Scorpion would appear and say, "I know something from your past, Sting," or whatever. Yeah. The Black Scorpion was always around Sting. And for the record, we're not putting over the Black Scorpion. One of the worst stories ever. One of the worst payoffs ever. Awful story, awful payoff. But at least like there was an anticipation of, well, holy fuck, who is this goddamn Black Scorpion that keeps stalking Sting? The devil appeared once and then left.
Yeah.
Jay White doesn't care. Sting cared about the Black Scorpion. Sting wanted to stop the Black Scorpion, figure out who the Black Scorpion was, get him to go away, reveal whatever it was. Whatever Sting had there was an anticipation for Sting to try to get at the Black Scorpion. Jay White doesn't fucking care about the devil whatsoever.
It's it's poorly fleshed out. It's a badly constructed story, and I don't understand why anyone would care, and I don't really think people do. Does anyone even talk about it? Like, I don't see, at least the places that I haunt, I don't see people buzzing. Who's the devil? I don't see those conversations. I don't think anyone gives a shit.
No, I really don't. Yeah, the smart circles I see, nobody really, and there's some people here and there that are, I'll see like, actually, if you look, it was kind of a womanly figure. I wonder if it's Britt Baker. It's like, okay, great, it's Britt Baker. Great, sure. Like, who cares?
There's a lot of talk in the certain circles that it should be Britt Baker and she should wrestle the men now. I feel like we could do a flagship from like 2014 breaking down that line of thoughts.
Yes,
but,
we could just play an old flagship from 2014 with that instead.
They still exist, Rich.
Oh yeah,
they're still out there.
All right, great.
That's a great idea. Yeah, sure.
That'll work well.
Hold your breath on that one.
Yeah.
Hold your breath on that one.
That'll work. That'll work great. I don't know. So that's the devil, I guess. So I don't know. Yeah, that's the full gear main event. We're getting pretty close to it. I don't have any sort of anticipation level for it. I don't really care. And that's I don't want to get into too much of the Dynamite because I think you did a great job on the Thursday Dynamite review. So I implore people to go listen to that. $5 tier, flagshippatreon.com. A constructive criticism as well in that, which I think is always important because people are always like, you just hate, but you don't give any you gave
bullshit
several things in that episode that you're like, here's what I would do to help improve this show in a multitude of ways. So yeah, that was all.
The theme of the review is that AEW has lost their identity.
Yeah.
And no matter where you stand on this stuff, I don't think that is no longer even in dispute. I feel
like we were the minority for a long time, and
I had to convince you in the earliest days. You thought I was crazy, and when I saw the signs early, but then you started coming around, and now we're seeing this.
A little ace of base there, but
that's right. And now we're seeing a lot of chatter in that direction. I was on this in the spring. Okay, I saw this coming. I saw the signs. I made a lot of people angry. I stuck to my guns.
What's
lost
new?
some business.
What's new?
I don't care though. I'm gonna stick to my guns and say what I think. And it turned out I was right. And this company has lost their identity in all the ways that I warned that they were going to. And that's kind of the theme of this review, because I thought last night's Dynamite was really glaring neon light, an encapsulation of all of the things I've been warning about and what the show has become.
Absolutely. And I think the thing about the show last night that got me as well, and I think you kind of summed it up in the TV review as well, I don't think it was a horrible show. I think they've had much, much worse Dynamites. I think there's been several worse Dynamites in the history. There's been several worse Dynamites during this last little run or whatever. To me, though, it was just this was just, it felt like the new normal. It felt like a normal Dynamite, but done in whatever this new style of Dynamite is. Does that make sense? Like, nothing was super out of place, but also it was like, wait a minute, what has happened to this show? Like, as you're watching it, you're kind of sitting there being like, wait, this is not at all what this thing used to be. And now this is what this thing is. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, there wasn't a ton of stuff that I was like, oh my God, that's fucking horrible. Oh, that's fucking horrible. It was just a whole show of, this is the new Dynamite. This is what we are now. This is where we're invisible cameras. We're whodunits. We're show-long storylines. We're people looking at television monitors weird. We're not having that good of matches. We're having a bunch of old guys. It's like, this is what that show is right now. So I think that's what was such a whiplash for me, was when it was over, I wasn't like, oh, that show sucked. I was like, that show was okay, and it was pretty familiar and pretty normal to what we are now with Dynamite. I think that's when it sunk into me. It's like, we're here now. We're fully here at this point.
We've reached stage 2. Stage 1 was the introduction of all these gimmick characters. And for lack of a better term, sports entertainment style storytelling. That was stage 1. And when I saw that all creeping in, I tried to warn people. We're into stage 2 now. We're seeing a lot of WWE production ticks, like those MJF segments last night where he's desperately searching for a partner. Did you notice the little things like,
oh, the camera's just there and just following him? Why is the camera there?
Why
is it following him?
Aside from just the invisible camera itself, the way that the segments were produced, okay, MJF would get foiled looking for a partner, and the camera would quickly jet to the right where, Jarrett and his guys are standing there, and you're supposed to laugh and react to that. Totally a WWF style production shot. the Acclaimed waiting around the corner.
They're just waiting around corners. They just happen to be around a corner. Hey, Max, how's it going?
And waiting for him during all of the segments. And there was a segment on Collision where before the main event, Samoa Joe, again, for some reason, there's a camera in the back on MJF as he's just warming up for the match, throwing air punches, right? Where have you seen that before, right? This is totally WWE style production, which again, which is hard for the promotion, for the shows to be seen as an alternative or something different when they're using the same production techniques. But MJF's back there throwing air punches as Excalibur's going, coming up, it's the big main event, and totally a WWE style thing. And then Samoa Joe enters the shot and gives MJF his offer, one final chance to accept his offer. And he tells him to think about it. And Joe exits the frame. Mm-hmm. And what does MJF do?
Stares off to the right.
Into the distance, the way that they do in WWE that we've complained about for years.
For an uncomfortable amount of time. And then
for an uncomfortable amount of time, just staring off. And then we fade off and go to commercial. These are all... So we've reached stage 2, where we're now just totally doing WWE style production as well. Last night on Dynamite, Rich, I'm not saying they've never done it, but when's the last time that you can recall Dynamite beginning with a cold open recap of the week before?
Yeah, there was one time they did it and I remember, I think I did the Dynamite review the week you may have been out or whatever, and it was like maybe a year ago, maybe 8 months ago, something like that. It was a long, long, long time ago.
The point is they almost never do
Almost never, yeah.
And who is that a trademark of? Mm-hmm. I mean, so it's like people think I'm just throwing that term around, right? But you see these little things. And look, isolated. Is it bad that they did a recap of the week before to open up Dynamite? Of course not. Like, if it was isolated, right? But when you combine that with the invisible camera and this goofy show-long story of MJF looking for partners and being, and with this whole Acclaimed bullshit and all of these other things that are so WWE-like, it all adds up to a very frustrating package to where this show is becoming less and less distinguishable from their competition, from the alternative, which then begs the question of, then what the fuck is the point? Does the world need a second-rate WWE that happens to have better matches and good pay-per-views? Do we really need that? And it's just disappointing. That's all. Anyway, that's the theme of the Thursday Dynamite review this week, which is getting incredible rave reviews. I tried my best not to lose my cool, because I lose my cool every week talking about this shit, because to me as a fan, it's frustrating. This is the only shot we're ever going to have in our lifetimes for somebody to do American television wrestling right. And I feel like they're blowing it. And it's as a wrestling fan who cares about wrestling and wants there to be great wrestling, it bothers me. Which is, why I lose but I tried my best this week to stay calm and make my points and lay them out. I still got a little feisty at times, but, that's passion, because I give a shit. Soon I'm not going to care, because I can tell you what, my DVR cut off at the end of that show, right before it was, whether, they lose the match, right? MJF, and here's another thing that bugged the shit out of me.
Oh, my God. They lost the match, and these guys didn't fucking care. They wanted to scissor. That's all anybody cared about, was scissoring.
Billy Gunn gets in MJF's face, and did he get in his face because he tried the dopey kangaroo kick and it cost him the match? No. He got in his face because he was saying, now scissor him!
Right.
Scissor him! It's like...
Not, I didn't trust you. I told Max it was stupid to get involved with you, and now we lost a match,
Right. Yeah.
Because that was the story. Billy Gunn didn't want to do it. He's like, this guy's an idiot. This guy's stupid. What are we doing this for?
That's right. Billy and Bowens all along were like, what are we doing, Max? This guy's an asshole. We don't want anything to do. That was your story. But instead, gets in his face, even though he lost the match because of his stupid kangaroo kick. And he's more concerned with MJF scissoring them than the fact that they lost the match. And, it was in that moment where I'm sitting there watching the show this morning and I'm thinking to myself, this isn't for me anymore. I don't know what this show is, but It's a lot like WWE with the way they tell their stories now. And it's not for me anymore. This doesn't appeal to me or my sensibilities as a fan anymore. And it's a shame.
Yeah,
and
the tonal shift
is
of the show is wild. Go, finish. Yeah, finish, sorry.
Yeah, and then just to finish my point. My point here is my DVR cuts off right as during the will they or won't they moment. So I still don't know whether they all scissored at the end. You know why?
Who cares?
Because I don't care.
Why would you care?
I didn't seek it out. I didn't go on the internet to look for the ending of Dynamite. I didn't ask in any of our group chats.
Why would you, an adult wrestling fan, give a shit if Max Castor and MJF scissor?
Yeah,
honestly, Joe Sixpack sitting there watching on Dynamite. Why would he care in his heart of hearts to see Max and Max scissor?
Right. And in real time, when I watched the show this morning, I didn't think about it. My DVR cut off, and I was like, all right, well, that's the end. And I turned it off and deleted the show. But then when I was doing the review and I was looking at my notes, I noticed that my last note was DVR cut off, and I didn't. It was then that it occurred to me that I still don't know whether they scissored. And then I thought to myself, oh, holy shit. I didn't ask any of my friends. I didn't ask in any of our group chats, like the Voices of Wrestling Slack. I didn't ask in our Discord. I didn't seek out, to see the end of the show because I just didn't give a shit in real time. And I moved on with my day. And that's the danger here. Soon, I'm not going to be yelling and screaming on these reviews because I'm not going to care anymore. They're pushing me away. And based on their ticket sales, I genuinely don't think I'm alone in people recognizing the tonal shift of the show and noticing that this is something different now. It's something different now. And it hasn't really hit their ratings super hard, although nobody watches Rampage or Collision. Okay. Dynamite, it does okay. Spotty ratings across the board, but it definitely has hit the ticket sales. And, we'll see if it starts hitting the pay-per-views. I don't know, but I just feel like, that we aren't the only ones feeling this way about this company. And the danger here is I do see more and more people saying, you know what? I don't care anymore. I don't watch every week.
This week was a big one. I think we, you and I have been on this for a while, you more than me. And I've sort of been, the last couple of weeks have sort of beaten me down to a point where I'm like, yeah, all right. Last couple of months, but the last couple of weeks in particular. But this week seemed to be, I think, just the tonal shift of the show this week. I don't know why. I don't know what it was about this particular week, but I know that a lot of other people that I trust and follow and have talked wrestling with for years and years and years,
more and more of it for sure.
They all agreed, and I don't know why this episode was the one that did it, because it wasn't. If you in a vacuum, it wasn't a awful or atrocious Dynamite, but I think it was just, when it was over, there was just a tonal shift on the entire show that was just like,
listen,
I don't know what this is anymore.
Very, very heavy-handed WWE style presentation.
Right. I think that's probably what it was. I think from the way that they told the stories, the way that the stories looked, the way the matches looked, to the characters, it was over, and at the entire 2 hours, you were like, I don't know what this is anymore. This isn't what I wanted anymore. This isn't what I was looking for out of this show. And yeah, I've seen that switch now this week, so hopefully we'll see.
MJF is more concerned with cheap WWE style pops. That's how he's built this babyface character, and they're more concerned with that. And as a result,
it kind of wraps around to your point again about Jay White and MJF about the full gear. Why would I give a shit about Jay White and MJF with full gear if MJF doesn't give a shit about Jay White?
Yeah, I mean, the fans last night didn't care. They were chanting scissor them to MJF. Scissor them. They didn't care who won the match. They weren't concerned with that. What did those fans want last night? They wanted the kangaroo kick, and they wanted them to scissor. That was the Bullet Club Gold, and Jay White was a subplot.
Mm-hmm.
And it shouldn't be that way. But that's the way they've told the story. That's the way that MJF has built this character, and they're now reaping what they sow. And, fans give back what you teach them. And you sort of talked about it earlier, but I do think there's been a shift in how the fans react to it. AEW Dynamite used to have the hottest crowds that we've seen in American wrestling since the Attitude Era. Okay? They weren't quite as hot as those crowds, but they were the hottest crowds we've seen since. You understand what the point I'm making?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
They were the hottest crowds we've seen since, and that's not the case anymore. They are slowly morphing into crowds that pop for the entrances the signature moves and the finishes. How does that sound familiar?
It
Rich?
sounds very familiar.
And this is the culture of that they're cultivating in the company. This is why I say they have lost their identity, because now they don't have an identity. You can come back with, oh, well, now their identity is this. But no. But see, this is already taken.
Yeah, that identity's taken. There's
That's
somebody
taken.
doing that identity better already.
Right. There's already someone doing that with a 40-year head start, and you're never gonna win over Johnny Roman Reigns avatar on Twitter. He's always gonna choose that place. And instead of being a true challenger brand, which Tony loves to talk about a lot, and chasing the disgruntled wrestling fan who's looking for something to sink their teeth into, he is choosing to push those people away and embrace the WWE fan or the sports entertainment fan or the kind of fan who likes the wacky characters. I personally think that's a mistake. But all along, Rich, I have conceded that maybe this strategy will work and the company will ultimately be bigger than ever if they find the right kind of characters and gimmicks and stories and they keep sticking with this direction. Maybe it will work. It'll run me off. It'll run you off. It'll run a lot of our listeners off. But ultimately, maybe they've concluded that that's the way to truly grow. We'll see. It's a weird time, though. And
it's a lot of growing pains. A lot of growing pains if they're growing.
I'm less and less interested.
A lot of growing pains.
And, it's going to reach a point like it has with some of these other promotions if it stays down this path where, like, this morning was concerning to me because I was like, wow, that was my moment of this isn't for me anymore. I really had that moment with myself. And what's next? What's next is I stop reviewing it. What's next is we push this company to the third hour of our show like we're going to do for Crown Jewel later because we just can't invest in it. And I know that, like, does Tony Khan give a shit whether we are whether we review his shows or not? No. But you get the point here. We're not alone.
I'd give a shit about those big basketball arenas that are eighth full. I'd give a shit about those.
I know we represent a segment of there's a lot of people who think like us. And I know that we represent a decent chunk of the wrestling fan base. I know we do. And I don't know if it's wise to change your identity and run those people off when what you were doing was like working. The company was growing.
You were getting TV deals. You were growing. You were selling buildings out, doing good ratings. I don't know.
That you're not a challenger brand anymore. You're now a secondary brand. There's a difference. So anyway, the TV review goes into much more detail of the conversation we just kind of had there.
With also some constructive ideas of what AEW could do to maybe improve some things here and there. Most of those are
some of them seem a little simple, but they seem very outside the box. But you have to do things drastically different if you want to be different from the competition. So have some fucking guts and do it instead of being more similar with each passing week, which honestly serves no one.
Set us up there. Flagship Patreon.com, Patreon.com/Voices of Wrestling, and voicesofwrestling.com/Patreon. Well, you want to talk about a wrestling promotion that is very different in all ways, shapes, and forms. There's nobody else doing what the National Wrestling Alliance is doing. And Joe, this pay-per-view from this weekend, NWA, say it again, Joe. Samhain.
Yes, I am here. I am here, Rich.
You're good. Samhain.
You set it up, and I will jump in.
Okay. NWA Samhain is the show. So nobody else is doing what the NWA is doing. This is a one-of-a-kind promotion in all ways, shapes, and forms. By the way, replay is available at voicesofwrestling.com/fight, by the way, if you want to watch this replay of this show. So the best way to describe this show is I don't have time. I thought there was going to be something that was going to come to my mind when I finished that sentence, and it was going to say the best way to describe NWA Samhain is blank. And I don't know that there is one way to describe this show. Chaotic might be one. What the fuck might be one. What is happening What is going on? What am I watching? Why am I watching? A lot of those questions go through my mind as I watch an NWA pay-per-view and watch this NWA Samhain show. It had it all. It had it all. It had the Devil's Last Dance Ultimate Hardcore Team War. We had a match where after you got pinned, you had to take a shot of liquor. It had guys snorting coke as the show was going on. That is true. We'll talk about that in a second. It had a riddle box match that nobody seemed to know the rules of. It had a Knights of the Round Table match that is still going on to this day. It has not ended yet, I believe. And it had a EC3 main event that was absolutely atrocious, as per always. So I don't know how to describe this show. It was all things to all people and nothing to nobody, and chaotic and ridiculous and insane and both entertaining, but then also not entertaining. NWA, man, is one of a kind, and you can't put into words. You can't wrap it up neat and tight. How can you wrap this thing up?
It fucking sucked. What do you mean you can't put it into words? It was terrible.
So I think it was bad, and then it got so bad it was good. What do you think about that? Do you think it approached fun bad? Do you think it approached fun bad?
Not even close.
Not even close to fun bad. Really?
I would love to know what you thought was good on this show.
No. Hold on a minute. Hold on. I said fun bad. I didn't say good.
So bad it's good.
So bad it's good. That Knights of the Round Table. Can we start with the Knights of the Round Table match?
The floor is yours.
Okay.
Sir.
So this is the NWA World Title Medieval Knights of the Round Table match. So Kyle Davis, your buddy, gets on and says, this is a NWA World Tag Team Title Medieval Knights of the Round Tables match. And the only way to win this match is to put your opponent through a round table. So, all right. So it has to be a round table, which makes sense. Okay. It's got to be a round table. That's how it happens. All right. So it's Blunt Force Trauma, my favorite team on earth. I love Blunt Force Trauma. Carnage and Damage. They got the Doom music. They got these cool 80s music. Aaron Stevens, not in the house, though. Aaron Stevens is gone. I think they said he was in Puerto Rico or something like that. Spoiler, he's there. And Knox and Murdoch. So it's Mike Knox and Trevor Murdoch versus Blunt Force Trauma. So they have this match, and they're just kind of doing big power moves to each other for a little bit. And then all of a sudden, one of the teams puts somebody through a table. And the crowd goes, yeah. And Kyle Davis has to go, just so we're clear, the match cannot end until the opponents have been put through a round table. So then, all right. So there's a little bit of a ha. They put them through the wrong size table. It's got to be a round table. It can't be a rectangular table. Okay. So a little bit of a fun, like, all right, that's kind of, I found that kind of endearing. Like, all right, we got to find a round table. It can't just be a normal table. Okay. So a couple minutes later, somebody else goes through a table. And Kyle Davis has to go, once again, folks, the match cannot end until the opponents haven't put through a round table. And a few more people kind of laugh, and it's like, oh, yeah, all right. And Blunt Force Trauma is like, and they're trying to look for a round table or whatever. So, okay. So you have the first joke where it's like, it's got to be in a round table. Okay, we get it. The second time where it's like the guys are like, oh, crap, right, the round table. Right, we got it. So the joke's, it's losing steam. The first time, it's like, okay. Second time, it's lost all of its steam. Joe, then they proceeded over the next 14 minutes. These motherfuckers broke about 5 or 6 more rectangular tables, so much so the crowd is groaning as Blunt Force Trauma, picks up Knox and throws him through a table and goes, yeah. And then Kyle Davis has to go, once again, that was a rectangular table. And now he's even annoyed that he has to preface, so much so that you're not even sure if the wrestlers know what the stipulation of the match is supposed to be. Like, it got to that point during this match where you're like, do these guys know that it's a round table match? Are they aware? Is there a round table anywhere? Tim Storm's like, Joe, do you know if we have any round tables around here? Joe's like, well, I certainly thought we did, and it doesn't seem that they're able to find it. So much so you're wondering 14 minutes in this match, dear God, do they even have a round table to go through? Eventually, they're fucking around towards one of the entrance areas, and then there's a medieval knight, and it's Aaron Stevens, and then he pushes Knox and Murdoch, and they land on a round catering table or whatever, and it's over. But my God, the way to beat a joke into the ground to the point where you're not sure if you're in on the joke anymore was this Knights of the Round Table match, where after 7 or 8 rectangular table breaks, you're like, what is going on?
Round table, we heard you, is what you're screaming at your TV. Round table, we heard you.
I love the crowd as like Carnage is like lifting him up, and the crowd's like, no, it's a square table. God damn it, this match is going to keep going on. And then Kyle Davis having to go, Folks, once again, that is a rectangular table. The match is not over. He's just,
This wasn't the only match where nobody knew the rules.
Yes.
I am convinced that in the Devil's Last Dance Ultimate Hardcore Team War match,
knew.
I don't think the wrestlers knew the rules either.
The wrestlers didn't know the rules. The announcers didn't, because Max the Impaler had been eliminated like numerous times and then won the match.
Well, the thing was, first of all, the announcers did not know the rules. Tim Storm, God bless that guy, he kept in earnest trying to figure out the rules while the match was going on.
Right.
And he was talking himself through the rules.
Yeah, he's like, okay, so Judas did get eliminated earlier,
right,
but still on the outside, so I guess maybe there's a...
No, he was saying things like, no. He was saying things like, oh, I get it now. Max is back in there because you get to come back in if you're the last person on the team.
Yeah, Max got eliminated first for the team, so Max is actually able to return because it was the first elimination from the team, and it's like, what?
Right, and it's like, no one knows these fucking rules. Like they never explained them, because I don't think anyone knew them to explain them. And here's the thing. The wrestlers didn't know, because towards the end, where on the heel team, right? The deal was Max was supposed to come back at the end, because the person who you can bring back someone who's eliminated after everyone's eliminated.
Right. It's simple, really. It's simple, really, by the way.
Right. But Max came back in too early because Judas hadn't been eliminated yet. Did you notice that?
That's right. That's what it was. Yes. And that's when Tim was like, oh, I get it. Right.
And then Tim, that fucked him up. Like, Tim thought he had it figured out. And then Max came in. Max fucked up. And because Judas wasn't out yet. And then Tim had to refigure it out. This poor man is, at some point, the other commentators just gave up and just called what they were watching and didn't attempt to care or figure out the rules. But this Tim Storm is such a genuine, in earnest man that through this entire match, this entire 15-minute match that felt like it was 15 hours, he would not give up his quest to nail down what the rules of this fucking match were. And then Max screwing it up screwed poor Tim Storm up. And then Judas gets eliminated. And then Max comes back in as scheduled, because Max fucked it up because the wrestlers didn't even understand these rules. And every time, and then at that point, Rich, I don't even know, because then there were like 5 more eliminations, and every single time I thought the match was over. And then every time Joe Galli would be like, oh, and he's eliminated again, and here comes Gags the Gimp to come back in. And I'm like, when does this match fucking end?
I know, it never ended.
Everyone got pinned like 4 times.
Right, and then people would leave, and then they'd come back, and then they'd leave, and then they'd come back, and then there was 7 different teams. And I then there was a point where I didn't know who was on whose team, and then I realized who was on whose team, and then I stopped realizing, because I was like, wait, there's 2 different Miserably Faithful teams, too. There was the Judas and Max Miserably Faithful, and then there's the Gags the Gimp, Sal the Pal Miserably Faithful.
Yes, because Gags the Gimp and Sal the Pal are trying to split
from
Miserably
They do
Faithful,
not want to be with Miserably Faithful, but they are still
managed by
called
Father
Miserably
James
Faithful.
Mitchell.
Yes.
Right. So the whole point of the match was, if the heels won, Gags the Gimp and Sal the Pal would have to be Father James Mitchell's slaves for the rest of their lives.
2023, by the way. This is a show happening in 2023.
Doing a slave gimmick in 2023. None of these people were African American, thankfully. Then, if they won the match, they were free of Father James. They had been freed from being slaves if they were to win the match. So that's why there were 2 different Miserably Faithful teams. It was the other half of the whatever. Everybody gets it, or they don't care,
or they don't get it. It doesn't matter. Nobody got it anyway. It didn't matter if you got
no one
it or
got
didn't get it. Right?
And there were people in this match that I am positive have never been on Power. Koa Laksamana. Rich, your guess is as good as mine. Who the fuck that man?
Oh,
is.
I know. I think I know Koa Laksamana, because I think appeared at an AAW show. If that's the person I think it is, and I believe it is. Yeah.
All right. Well, I can tell you that
I wrote about Koa in my Chaos Theory.
That's great, because
Yeah, whatever. Never Say Die. Never Say Die is the show that I.
This isn't AAW, is my point.
Right.
This man,
not Power. Yeah, right.
this Koa Laksamana.
I think he's been around. He gives lays to people, and he gets over because he gives lays to people, and people make lay jokes and stuff.
I get over when I give lays to people too, Rich. That was my trademark for many years. But this man, actually, now I'm looking at it, he has wrestled in a couple of battle royals on Power. So forgive me for missing his battle royal appearances on Power. But this match was preposterous and made no sense.
The managers got in and they wrestled for a little bit, and then a manager pinned another manager, and that was part of the match, I guess, but also not part of the match. It is it was particularly wild. Danny Deals was very horny for your girl Christy Janes, very horny for her to a disturbing degree.
I thought his commentary was very funny. He
only you would still find Danny Deals funny. He's terrible. He's so bad.
Who's the guy?
He's like, hey Joe, CJ's pretty hot, huh? CJ's pretty hot. Yeah, she's quite the woman.
No, he was funny. Who was wrestling in the jeans? Was it Dax Draper or was it Judas?
I think it was Draper that was in the jeans.
Whoever it was, he's like, well, it looks like he's in a Jordache jeans commercial. Jordache jeans.
No. Oh, did he say Jordache? In my notes, I wrote DoorDash. I get it now.
No.
I thought he was like, did this guy just come from DoorDash? Or saw Jordache? I get it now. My notes say DoorDash. My notes say Danny Deals DoorDash. What the fuck are you talking about? But now I get it. Okay, Jordache.
No, he made a Jordache jeans reference from 1983 is what it was. And then
okay, I'm back in on Danny Deals. I'm back. I'm all the way back.
Then Judas gets in there and he's like, this guy looks like Frankenberry, which was another good obscure reference. You know, it's I don't know. I enjoy him, and he always brings up the betting odds, so I always enjoy that as well.
He is always taking action. Always taking action for sure.
Yeah, he's got to call his guy and put in some action. But then we have this loser leave town match with Rush Freeman versus Brady Pierce, and the special guest referee is Rolando Freeman. So how can you have a match where the special guest referee is one of the guy's brothers, right? So, of course, he cheats the other guy and punches him in the dick so his brother can be the one to not leave town. But then Matt Cardona comes down for some reason.
Of course, Matt Cardona came down.
I thought he was booked for a match.
He was. That was the heat. So Matt Cardona comes out, and then he cuts a miserably long promo, and then Billy Corgan comes out, and he cuts the most miserably long promo you have ever heard in your entire life. Billy gets the point. What's going on here? And essentially Matt Cardona is just like, how can you have a hardcore match and a hardcore pay-per-view without the hardcore legend or whatever? I should be in the main event or whatever. So Billy Corgan comes out and just drones on and on. But he even says, Matt, I had you booked for an open challenge. And everyone's just kind of like, all right. So
that interminably long Matt Cardona, Billy Corgan promo battle, which was basically Billy Corgan just doing a lot of talking and saying nothing.
Yeah, nothing. Right? Yeah, he's saying nothing. So essentially the heat was Billy was like, no, you were supposed to do an open challenge and now you're asking to be in the main event. And Matt Cardona was like, yeah, that's what I want to do, be in the main event.
It took Corgan longer to get to that point than the match took.
Yes. Yeah, it took like 10 minutes.
I'm not even exaggerating.
No, it took 10 minutes for Billy Corgan to get to the point of, you want to be in the main event, you were supposed to be in the open challenge, and then he goes, Matt Cardona, your request, you can go to hell, hell, and he just kept saying hell a bunch of times, and then it was over.
But he took him so long to get to the point. He's like, I'm a rock star. You're a deathmatch king. We understand each other. I'm like, what do those things have to do with one another?
Well, they're big business. I think he was trying to say. I think his idea was, you're a superstar and I'm a rock star. Yeah. So we know what big business is like. We know what swinging big dicks around this area is supposed to be. If we want to get something, we ask for it. We demand it. And that's essentially what he's saying is like, normally you can get in here and demand something because you're a star. And then he started going over his drawing record. He goes, I'm not going to lie, Matt Cardona. I looked at the numbers and your pay-per-views do draw more. You do sell more tickets. And I'm like, the Hall of Fame case for Matt Cardona is rising. I'm taking notes. I got my notebook out. I'm taking notes about, if Zack Ryder, if Long Island Ice Z gets on this Observer ballot one of these days, you got the YouTube show, you got, the drawing for NWA, discernible draw for NWA. I'm saying, okay, here, let's go.
Billy Corgan says he sells more tickets to NWA shows. You're jotting that down.
Right. Like, okay. Right? It's all making a case.
Yeah. Yeah. So just in case you're going to need that information in a few years when he's on the ballot. Yeah.
I don't want it to get lost to time. So, yeah, he's just explaining everything. He's talking about past matches that Cardona had. It is endlessly long. And then, it ends with him telling Matt Cardona, you can go to hell, a bunch of times. And I'm not exaggerating. He said hell like 6 times, and he said it the way I said it. So,
yeah, Cardona kind of just stood there because he didn't get to say anything back.
And then Cardona was like, whoa, not that big of a deal, man. And then, left the ring.
Yeah, and that was that. And he didn't come back until the main event.
Right.
So, I will say, they were in a very professional-looking building.
Right. We were mean to the Temple Hall in Cleveland,
but
Municipal or whatever the hell it was called. Yeah.
And they had people in it.
They always have people. There's always these people. Who are these people?
I don't know. Now, there were some empty seats in the upper reaches. This wasn't like a super no vacancy full house. Let's not go crazy. But this was not an embarrassing crowd. All the floor seats were filled, and this building had like stadium seating as well. It looked like a professional building.
Yeah.
The building they were in, if you put this on the CW, you're not going to look like a clown show. Like this is a real looking building with enough fans in it to where it would look professional on TV. What I don't understand is how Power is in like crystal clear 4K with great production, and these pay-per-views look like they're filmed on.
Oh, it looks like dog shit. Yeah, okay, so it wasn't just mine too, because I'm watching. I'm like, what the fuck is going on with my fight? And I'm trying to refresh it and making sure I got the right settings. This thing looked like it was in a potato.
Your quote unquote fight. Yeah,
hey,
sure, Rich.
Hey. Voicesofwrestling.com/fight. By the way,
you tried to slip that one by me. There is no shot you watch this show on Fight.
I'm sure the person I bought it from Fight. Maybe.
Yeah. I'm sure the feed you watched originally came from Fight.
Right.
If that's what you're trying to say.
Yeah. Voicesofwrestling.com/fight, by the way.
Speaking of which, do you know how many buys this show did?
Okay, so I saw that number going around. Is that the real number?
I have the real number.
You have the real number. How do you have the real number?
Because
Danny
Mike
Deals?
Johnson
Did you make a deal with Danny Deals?
No. Mike Johnson reported the real number.
Oh, my God. Okay, so what's the real number?
212.
Oh, dear God.
It's a very specific number, too. Basically, when you look at it that way,
212 people bought this show.
Joe Galley, Tim Storm, and Danny Deals were basically doing a podcast with their friends on Saturday night. 212 buys for Samhain.
No way. No, there's no way.
They sold more tickets.
212 people bought that show.
There are at least 500-600 people there, probably.
Oh, for sure.
Maybe even more. Maybe even more. I mean, there are a lot of people there. Yeah.
25. So it's $25 a pop.
Figuring out the gate. Oh, the pay-per-view money.
It's not good.
How much did it cost?
It cost $24.99 on voicesofwrestling.com/fight. So we take that. Now that's me putting 20. I'm giving them every penny that they sold of every fight. I'm sure there's a cut going to fight there.
It's divided by 2 here. So we know it's about a half split, right? So
that's not good then. All right, fine. 12 and a half.
They made about $2,700 on this pay-per-view. $2,700. Basically, they paid Cardona with the pay-per-view money. Right? Paid Cardona a little extra to spare.
I don't know.
You don't think they paid Cardona? You don't think they covered Cardona?
I don't know if they paid Cardona. I think some Cardona bookings that's gonna pay for, but I think that knows his worth to certain places.
I'm not paying $3,000 for Matt Cardona.
Well, you're not Billy Corgan, so
I'm not paying $3,000 for Cardona. If I try to book Cardona,
he didn't wrestle. I guess he didn't wrestle. So,
well, that's the other thing. If you're going to book the guy, how do you not have him wrestle?
I don't know. I kept assuming there was going to be a Cardona match at some point, and then there just wasn't. So I don't know.
I mean, Cardona was announced to wrestle, and there were empty seats in the building. I'm not paying Matt Cardona. I don't know what his rate is. If it's $3,000 and I'm a promoter, that's a pass from me. I don't think he's worth it. The show, he was on this show and it 212 buys, Rich. Like, what is he worth?
So clearly it wasn't worth it. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and he was announced to wrestle. No one knew they were going to do some dopey angle and he wasn't going to wrestle. Like, they told people he was going to wrestle. And there were empty seats and they sold 212 pay-per-views. So, I don't know. If you get Matt Cardona for a couple $100, okay. If he costs $3,000, I'm that's a pass from me. But I have no clue what his rate is. I don't even have in the neighborhood. I could try to find out, I guess. Let's try to find out. Let's ask around.
All right, that's fine.
Anyway,
you're not covering a lot. Yeah, the fight buys were not covering a lot of the expenses.
That's the point here.
Yeah.
But when you toss in his flight, right? Like, this is Cleveland, so I don't know what else he had going on that weekend. I don't know if Billy's playing the Gabe game.
Maybe a toy show. Maybe he was at a toy show this weekend or something.
Yeah,
so.
maybe this guy maybe someone else booked him. He could drive to my show, Colby Carino, Joe Alonzo.
This is good. I like this match.
I knew it'd be good.
They beat
Carino
the hell out
did
of
the
each
stage dive, the balcony dive, rather, right?
Pillar to post, essentially just what? No holds barred.
Falls
count anywhere, I guess. Yeah, just a very complicated way to. Yeah.
Every match had a stipulation, as we talked about last week. Joe Alonzo is saying I was not defeated by Colby Carino. That's his post-match ramble to keep the program going. I don't know. It looked like he got defeated by Colby Carino.
It did look like Colby Carino defeated him in a professional wrestling match, but
delusional heel, I guess, right?
Yeah, it's fine.
What'd you think of the rock and roll tag team match?
So, okay. The stipulations of this match, which nobody knew, I guess it felt like they got slid a piece of paper at some point before the match to be told what the rock and roll match was. Because Joe Galley goes, so the rules of the rock and roll tag team match are that after a pinfall, you must take a shot of liquor. That was the rock and roll tag match because they're, rock stars.
They had a lovely lady at ringside
yes.
with the shots full of liquor.
Right.
Little did we know that they'd be doing bumps of coke later on in the show.
Yeah, the guys doing liquor in a wrestling match wasn't anywhere near the worst thing. So you get the Southern Six, it's Alex Taylor and Kerry Morton. The heat here that Tim Storm is like, I've been drinking with Kerry Morton. He can't hold his alcohol at all. It's like That's the heat, I guess, is that Kerry Morton is not a true rock and roller.
He's what they call, Rich. I'll handle this one because I spend lots of time in bars, as you know.
Yes.
Kerry Morton is a lightweight.
He's a lightweight. Yeah. So that was the heat, is that he was a lightweight, and Joe Galley said, yeah, I've seen him take like 2 sips of beer and he was completely sloshed. It's like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
The Headbangers come out. Yes, the Headbangers, Mosh and Thrasher. Joe Galley calls them tag team legends. Legends.
Yeah.
Legends. Oh. The Headbangers, an integral part of the Attitude Era. The Headbangers. Joe, I call shenanigans on that. An integral part. They looked perfectly okay, the Headbangers. They were
I'll be honest.
They were top 20% of all the wrestlers on this show.
We ripped on @Billy for putting up the old picture of the Headbangers, but
they look kind of the
same.
Same.
Like the Headbanger. Yeah.
Thrasher's gained a little bit of LBs. Who hasn't? Who hasn't?
Hey, listen,
he's in his 50s.
Gotta be 50.
Yeah, Mosh looks exactly how Mosh looked in 1998, pretty much. Just
old Glenn Ruth.
Yeah.
Thrasher, he's 54 years old.
Right. So they again, top 20% of this entire card in terms of wrestlers.
With the face paint and the fucking gear, they don't look like they're in their 50s.
No. You can go for a while.
No, they it's like I thought that they didn't look old. They performed well. They were never the Midnight Express to begin with. So it's not like they had some kind of,
even when they were an integral part of the Attitude Era.
Yeah, even though they're during their days where they crafted their legend. No, they were never the British Bulldogs. But so you don't have as much to live up to. It's like what was that great Terry Funk quote that came out after he died? Where was it about the Sheik or Abdul the Butcher? Where he's like, that guy had the right idea because he can do that until he's 70.
Yeah.
It's like the Headbangers, they can pretty much do all the shit that they did in 1998.
They went above and beyond in this match. Man, they did like a tope. They did some bump. I mean, it's pretty big bumps.
They worked hard.
They did.
I had no problem with their performance.
This match would have been okay, but then it was like stopped every 10 seconds because people had to take a shot. And then we have to pretend that within 8 minutes, everybody in this match is drunk. And then it was just over. So.
Yeah, and they all got drunk.
Yep.
Or some of them got drunk.
Right.
Someone got drunk. Kerry Morton vomited.
Kerry Morton vomited because he's a lightweight. And he got very drunk in 7 minutes, apparently.
Submission match. Jack Stane and Blake
Troop.
Blake
Troop. Got it.
Blake Troop. You're never living that down. This was a match that happened on NWA Samhain.
Yes, it did. Joe,
yes,
I dare say it was 7 minutes and 3 seconds and Jack Stane defeated one Blake Troop. Yeah, it was. The bell rang, and then they wrestled, and then Jack Stane put him in a submission maneuver, and then Blake Troop tapped out, and the match was over, and they rang the bell, and then the next match began shortly thereafter.
You know, we've talked about an endless string of matches here. We're not even halfway through.
No, we got to push the thing along here a little bit.
Settle in, people. Pretty Empowered defended the NWA Women's Tag Team titles by defeating Natalia Markova and Taylor Rising. Again, this was a match that happened on NWA Samhain. I don't know why you have to have all these matches when you're going to basically do a TV match. This was a TV match. You know, Markova and Rising didn't even get much offense.
No, it was like Pretty Empowered. They've been our tag champions for quite a while. They're one of the best teams. And then they just beat a team very easily. And it was like, all right, great. Pretty Empowered.
They were both dressed like the comic book character that all the nerds are horny for. What's her name?
Harley Quinn.
Harley Quinn.
Yes.
But
Danny Deal's also
versions.
horny. Also horny.
Danny Deal's very horny for. They were two different versions of.
Yes, they were different
Quinn.
versions of Harley Quinn. Yes.
And Danny Deal's was down with both versions.
Yes, he was mostly the Markova, but he was fine with Rising too.
Yeah, I think that's where we all stand. So, but they lost rather easily.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't see the point. Like, you can shave some of these matches off of these.
Yeah, no, it was over, and Joe Galli was like, well, the experienced team just defeated the team that just didn't have the experience. And I was like, all right, great. I'm glad.
Great, we're moving on.
Glad I got that on pay-per-view. It was just like, well, that team is good, and the other team is not that good. All right.
And at this point in the show, they were running out of time because they're like, we got to move it along. And they were doing the entrances for the next matches, like, instantly.
Right.
After the previous matches were ending.
Right.
That's what happens when you have, like, 27 matches on the show.
Yeah, we're not even talking about the pre-show, and we're not going to talk about the pre-show. I didn't watch the pre-show.
I watched the pre-show.
Oh, well, I didn't, so you can talk about it later if you want. I don't know when it happened, so let's just get over. Let's just do it now. At the beginning of the show, Father James Mitchell is like, welcome to the most dangerous day of the year, Samhain, or whatever. And he's like drinking out of a bottle. And Tim Storm's like, I've seen that guy drunk before, and that guy's drunk. It's just like, you know, like, like you're like the fatherly figure. Tim
drunk,
Storm is just like, I think he's drunk. Like in the most, like, not even in like a pro wrestling way, like legitimately telling Joe Galli, hey, I think Father James Mitchell's drunk right now because I've seen that guy drunk, and that's how he acts when he's drunk. And then he came out like 10 other times on the show. And then one time they cut to him. I forget when it happened, so let's just talk about it. They cut to him, and he's with Gags the Gimp and Sal the Pal, who are now his indentured servants or whatever. And he's got ladies of the night with him. There's these random, like, devil-worshipping women that are with him. And they're just doing lines of coke. They're at a table just doing lines of coke. And Danny Deals is like, whoa, hold on a minute. I got to get over there. You know, I love Danny Deals. I'm back all the way in on Danny Deals.
He probably sold them the coke.
Probably, yeah. So I don't think they were doing real. They were just kind of putting it on the ground and then moving their face. I mean, James Mitchell probably did a couple a little bit here and there, but I don't know what this was, but they were just kind of on a table snorting fake and or real cocaine. And then they cut back, and Joe Galli goes, anything could happen on the NWA pay-per-view. All right, let's get to the next match. And then we just moved on.
Yeah, Mitchell, while he was getting drunk on the stage with his concubines. He had some concubines.
Is that what they were called, concubines?
That's what I call them. He had his concubines with him, and they were wearing these spooky masks, and then they took them off, and a couple of them could have left them on, if I'm being honest. And you know, he had the concubines up there.
Not Cleveland's finest.
You would think a rock star could find some hotter concubines, but I'm sure they're lovely ladies. And he was talking about Samhain, Mitchell. He was, welcome to Samhain.
It's Devil's favorite night. It's a night of debauchery.
Yes.
And it's like,
the lines are blurred between the living and the dead. And I'm like, what the fuck am I watching? Can I just watch a wrestling show ever in my life? In my life, can I just watch a wrestling?
I just want wrestling.
I just want to watch a wrestling. I don't want the lines blurred between the living and the dead, Rich. I just want to watch guys wrestle. I just once in my and the concubines are dancing about in their torn fishnets. How you doing?
Which, by the way,
about the living and the dead.
The entrance to the show, Billy Corgan, a multi-millionaire at this big arena. It'd be laughable if one of your kids did like a Halloween play and this was the set. It is a 8-foot like
gargoyle demon.
It's like there's like these paper mache gargoyles. There's a throne. Then there's like this a trellis, this small trellis that these guys have to duck to get under. It's not a big trellis; it's so small, and then that's it.
Dias definitely had to duck.
It's like, what is up?
He's like 6'5". The guy's the height of an NBA point guard, and he couldn't. He had to duck. Oh my god! Awful concubines. Awful. He's a rock star, Rich. Oh, fuck. It's the devil's favorite eve. The lines are blurred and the living and he's taking shots.
Yeah, he's
right
like
there
he's like floating. He's kind of bouncing back and forth, like his body is swaying. And
this guy is 3 sheets to the wind. Tim Storm's calling him out. And I'm convinced it was real coke later on. Because why not?
Yeah, you know what? Fuck it. Yeah, sure.
What the fuck's the difference at that point? I think the concubines were back for the coke segment. So I just don't understand why we just can't have a wrestling show. I don't get it. I don't understand why both AEW and WWE had to have the requisite Halloween fucking fright match with putting pumpkins on each other's heads. And can we just wrestle? Can we just wrestle? We didn't even mention that. AEW, now they're doing Halloween fright matches. Rich, you can put money on this. They're doing a food fight on Thanksgiving.
Oh, God, AEW, yes. 100%. Timeless Tony is doing a food fight for sure around Thanksgiving.
They're doing a food fight. She's throwing her fruit. They're doing a food fight, Rich. They're a food fight promotion now. What the fuck was next? Oh, the Burning Lake Brawl.
Yes. What was a Burning Lake Brawl, Joe? I watched this match and
I don't know.
I'm not sure what a Burning Lake Brawl is.
I was hoping you'd jump in.
It appeared to be a professional wrestling match between Silas Mason and Chris Adonis. And then it was over.
Cleveland, which, Rich, they call it the mistake by the lake, Rich. So maybe.
Well, I don't think they called the whole city the mistake by the lake. I believe they just called the Cleveland, whatever the football stadium was the mistake by the lake.
City. The whole city.
I don't think the whole city is called the mistake by the lake, but
no, the locals call it that. It's the mistake by the lake. That's how they refer to their town.
Really?
What do you call them? Is it a Clevelander? What do you call someone from Cleveland?
Ooh, I don't know what you would call it.
Steamer?
I thought it was only Cleveland Steamer. I only thought it was the municipal stadium or whatever. They call the entire city the mistake by the lake.
Let's see.
They don't have enough. They don't have an affinity for their city.
It's a Clevelander. If you're from Cleveland,
Clevelander.
That's the demonym. I believe you call that, right? Demonym is Clevelander, not a Cleveland Steamer, as I stated earlier. Yeah, I don't think it's called the mistake by the lake, the whole city. It's let's see. No, isn't that what rival cities call the city of Cleveland the Mistake by the Lake?
I always thought it was just reserved for the building, the municipal stadium. I didn't know if it was reserved for the entire
the dog pound. The dog pound.
Yes, eventually what became. Yeah, I don't know if people from Columbus call. Lake Erie, I believe.
That's Lake Erie. You act like I should.
I guess you're not. Yeah, you're not a Lake Erie. You're not a Great Lakes guy. I don't know why. It makes sense that I would know that. It does not make sense that you would.
You were annoyed too. You were so annoyed. You're like,
you should know your Great Lakes, Joe. Come on, they're the
You could have told me. You could have told me Huron, and I would have been like, all right, I don't fucking know.
No.
Where's Huron? Up by fucking Ontario or something?
No. Well, sorta. Sorta. Yeah, sorta. Sort of.
Whatever.
Huron is between Michigan and Ontario. So
is it up by the fake Michigan, the Upper Peninsula?
It does. Actually, I don't know. That is Superior. That is up by fake Michigan. The UP.
Superior's the big boy.
Yeah, Superior's the big boy. Yeah. That's up by.
There's a lot of dead bodies at the bottom of that one.
Oh, certainly.
Michigan too, Lake Michigan, a lot of dead bodies, right?
I would assume, yeah.
Like, don't a lot of people from Chicago go out on the lake to like fish or whatever, and they never come back?
I don't know that many people that do that. No,
that's not a common thing. Like people dying. In the lake.
I don't think it is really. In my lifetime,
how about
I don't know that many people that have gone into Lake Michigan and died.
Well, not you personally.
No. I mean, no. But like, there's not like stories about it happening all the time.
Oh, I thought that was a thing.
Nah. I don't think they go that far out. They didn't go that far out. You go out like
you turn the news on. It's like today. 3 local teens were fucking, had a jet ski on Lake Michigan and never returned. Like, that doesn't happen.
It's a big lake. I don't think people really do that as much as you would think.
They don't go too deep.
They don't go too deep or too far. Nah.
But these lakes are so big, like you can go there. You can go like to the middle of the lake and you can't see land.
Oh God, yes. Oh yeah, for sure. Lake Michigan's huge.
That's some fucked up lakes.
Yeah, it's a big lake.
Yeah. That's not some little pond. Where
No. These are big. These are Great Lakes. These are the Great Lakes, baby.
These are the great ones. And Cleveland is the Mistake by the lake. And I think that's what the Burning Lake Brawl was. Like, I think they're just like, we're near a lake.
Great.
Because this is just a wrestling match. Right?
It was just a professional wrestling match, yeah.
And we do not have a new national heavyweight champion.
No, we do not.
6-man tag team Riddle box match.
We got a pre-match video where Violent J explained the wrench, but not really.
Aired on Power as well.
Yeah, he just kind of said there's boxes. And some are good and some are bad.
And he danced around.
Right. But some are good, some are bad. And then I was like, all right, cool.
And he wrestled.
Yep.
And some of the boxes just had balloons in them. Some of the boxes had... What'd some of the other boxes have?
One of them had... A lot of balloons. Most
of them
had
balloons in this match. Most
had balloons. A few had some weapons. I feel like one of them had like Legos or whatever. This match was okay. This was like dumb fun enough. Vampiro, awful, did nothing, can't move. That's fine. But Bestia 66 and Mecha Wolf did as much as they could to make this thing. Violent J held his own. I thought this was at least mildly funny, this match. I was entertained by it, I guess I should say.
So we're being told that Lake Erie once caught on fire.
Okay.
So there we go.
Well, they definitely represented that quite well with this very boring, not good professional wrestling match between two people.
That's right. There were rubber chickens in one of the boxes.
The rubber chickens, of course. Yes.
And they were selling the rubber chickens. Like they were hitting.
You can get some velocity on one of those. I think if you hit somebody with a full force rubber chicken, that would hurt.
Listen, that was preposterous. La Rebellion selling the rubber chicken shots. I couldn't buy that. It ruined the show for me, Rich. I was so into this show, and then they did the rubber chicken spots, and I was out.
Then you were out. You're like, this is ridiculous. I don't know what we're doing here.
Yeah.
My suspension of disbelief has been broken. I'm over this.
Totally
solid.
Shot, yeah.
I'm over the blurred lines between the living and the dead. I am done with this.
We're done here. Kenzie Page defeats Ruthie J.
Another TV match where it was like, here's Kenzie Page. She's our champion. She's been our champion for a while. And here's Ruthie Page. And then she just beat her. And then it was like, all right.
You could cut so many matches off of these fucking shows. We talked about the Knights of the Round Table match. And then it was the world title match.
No limits.
EC3. No limits.
Have you heard that EC3 calls himself a data-driven warrior?
Yes.
I love that. He's he does his own research and he's telling
that's correct.
Data-driven.
I'm not making any of that up.
He said that. That's a shoot.
Yeah, no limits. I was waiting for Swole and 4x4 and Master P to come out here. And
no, none of them.
We didn't get any of those fellas.
No, they just had a. Oh, you had some cosplay, Joe. I know how you like cosplay. You had Tom Latimer. He was Randy Macho Man Savage from the World Wrestling Federation. Do you remember Randy Macho Man Savage from?
I do.
He was there during a lot of the 80s, a little bit of the early 90s. Macho Man Randy Savage. And then Camille, who was his wife, dressed as Randy Macho Man Savage's valet, is what they used to call it. Remember Miss Elizabeth?
Yeah, she died of a drug overdose.
Yes, that one. Camille dressed as Miss Elizabeth. So Tom Latimer was Randy Macho Man Savage, and Camille was Miss Elizabeth here in this.
Yeah, he lost. EC3 is still your NWA World's Heavyweight Champion. And Cardona got involved in this at the end there. So y'all jacked up for Cardona versus EC3?
God, you can cut the anticipation with a knife, man. I can't wait. So hopefully that's at Hard Times, which they kept public during the show. They kept saying we'll be back with pay-per-view next year with Hard Times.
Yeah,
date and location to come later. It's like, all right, get into it. It's like,
yes,
they were like kept Joe Galley like 4 or 5 times be like, we'll be back on pay-per-view with NWA Hard Times. Date location to be named later. So
to be determined.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Maybe we'll go to another lake. Maybe we'll do another Gaelic holiday.
Yeah, go to the UP, go up to Lake Superior.
Sure. This show fucking sucked. Where was the fun bad you were talking about?
Okay. The Knights of the Round Table match was fun bad. The Riddle box match was fun bad. Okay, there wasn't a whole lot. I'll admit. Utterly absurd. Utterly absurd, I guess, is probably the better way to.
Yeah, I don't know. This was not great.
NWA. Or
we'll
the replay.
Be back with Hard Times on a date to be determined.
A date and a location to be determined. By the way, contribute to that. Maybe make it 213 buys. voicesofwrestling.com/fight, by the way, if you want to order the replay to NWA Samhain. And now, thankfully, hopefully, mercifully, I will never have to say the words Samhain ever again. So, all right. We got to talk New Japan here instead. I can't do WWE just yet. We need to bridge the gap a little bit. So let's talk about New Japan Pro Wrestling. Fighting Spirit Unleashed. Did you watch this show? I did not get to Fighting Spirit Unleashed. This is from October 28th, last weekend in Las Vegas. So it was a New Japan Strong show. Did you get a chance to watch any of Fighting Spirit Unleashed?
Yeah, I watched the whole show.
Any highlights? Do we want to go match by match? How would you like to approach this then before we preview Power Struggle?
I could run through it. Kojima won a 4-way opener that had Rosser and Jeff Cobb and Alex Coughlin. Surprisingly, he pinned Rosser, which, Rosser's kind of pushed on New Japan Strong. So I was kind of surprised by that. I was kind of surprised Kojima won at all until, later in the show when he came out and challenged Eddie Kingston. So, New Japan, usually when there's a surprising result on a show, it usually makes sense later on in the show in New Japan. So Kojima won the 4-way, and then when Kingston beat Hanare later on in the Strong openweight title match, Kojima came out and cut an English promo talking about bread, and he's going to be Kingston, and Kingston accepted the challenge. So then we had Stephanie Vaquer, how do you say it? Vaquer, and Zexus versus Johnny Robbie and Huvia, the CMLL ladies. It was all right. It was fine. I don't have much to say about it. Gabe Kidd beat Tom Lawler in a match that wasn't very underwhelming. Very underwhelming match. I did notice on this show, a lot of these guys didn't have their working shoes on for this one. They did a lot of shtick. and it just wasn't anything worth spending your time on. Atlantis Jr., Hiroshi Tanahashi, and Místico defeated Soberano Jr., Tiger Mask, Rocky Romero, and Adrian Quest, a.k.a. Kid Fuego, who does not play. It's good to see him twice a year on these New Japan Strong shows. Again, this was playing the hits. Atlantis was giving everybody that fucking backbreaker. You know, you could picture this match in your head.
Yeah, I could close my eyes and I know exactly what this match was.
Yeah, and the baby faces won and everybody was happy, and I guess everybody was kind of a baby face in this, but you get the idea. The team with the Atlantis boys and Tanahashi and Místico.
Yeah, we're clearly more over probably than Adrian Quest.
Everyone there was just there to take the signature spots from the three legends and the son of the legend. So it was a crowd pleasing match. It was fun. Julia defeated Hyon, which to this point was the best match on the show. I would go 3.5, 3 3/4, maybe. It was better than anything that had been on the show to this point. And I think everybody expected Julia to defend that strong women's title here. I didn't think anyone thought she was going to lose, and she didn't.
No, God, no.
Yeah. The strong tag team titles, it was Guerrillas of Destiny. They're still calling themselves, like, they're all these guys that split off from both. They're calling themselves Guerrillas of Destiny because this was Phantasmo and Hikuleo. And they beat the Lance Archer, Alex Zane team, which is like specifically a tag team on Strong, right? They joined up a couple shows ago and they got a title shot here. But the West Coast Wrecking Crew, Jarrell Nelson. And who's the other guy? Who's the partner?
I always forget the dude's name. I know the name, and people are going to say it, and I know his goddamn name, and I always feel bad.
He did all the talking here. They came out and jumped Phantasmo.
Royce Isaacs. Yeah,
Royce Isaacs cut. Royce Isaacs, this was so weird. He came out, and I thought it was Buzz Sawyer for a minute. Like,
it was not Buzz Sawyer. I can assure
no,
you.
He's been dead for 30 years.
Yeah, I was going to say, that would be a story. Then I should have watched the show if Buzz Sawyer showed up. But
yeah, but they jumped the champs, and they were like, look, Isaacs cut a pretty good promo because he was like, look, we're tired of these thrown together teams. New Japan Strong is our turf. We want our titles back. You guys aren't even a real tag team. Like, it was a pretty good promo. Kingston beat Hanare. It was fine. It's the deal with Kingston. It either absolutely rocks or, he's tripping over his own feet.
All right, it's been his entire career. He's either my favorite wrestler in the world or my least favorite wrestler in the world. I can switch and change on a daily basis with him, on a match by match basis for sure.
Yeah, it was fine. And then Kojima came out and cut the English promo and like, I am here for the strong title. I also have bread.
Did the bread thing. Yeah,
totally preposterous. And he came out. That bread shit is over like a motherfucker though, and he knows it. Sonata and Yuya Uemura defeat. No, this was a draw, I think.
Yeah, it was a draw. Yeah, time was a draw.
Yeah, they went to a draw. Yeah, 20 minutes, right? 20-minute time.
20-minute draw. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, against Hiromu and Naito. I didn't think much of it. It was okay. It was fine. This show wasn't that great. It wasn't a bad show, but it was, I don't think there's much you need to go back and seek out, except for this. Shingo defeats Tama Tonga in the main event. He wins the Never Openweight title, which is good to see. It's good to get the Never Openweight title away from like the fucking Bullet Club and ex-Bullet Club guys. It's been in that sort of...
It's been in that sphere for a while. It's good to have it on like a wrestler again. It feels like it's been a while since it's been on just a dude that wrestles and doesn't... we're not worried about who he's aligned with or what Bullet Club team he's in. It's just a dude. So fine with me.
My hope is we go back to the old days of the Never title now, and Shingo just has matches against people like Ishii and maybe Hanare or whoever the fuck, and they just go out there and try to kill each other. Remember that era of the Never title?
Oh God, yes.
Makabe,
yeah, I'm in. I'm very in for that. We there's definitely a lack of that in New Japan in general. That sort of match where it's just the bell rings and two dudes for 12 minutes go out there and beat the hell out of each other. You know what I mean? Like that has been lost for quite a while, and it wouldn't be hard to bring it back. You got all the guys. and this title is a great way to do it. So yeah, I hope that is the case. We'll see.
That 2016-ish era Ishii and all those guys, and maybe we can get back to that instead of like these Bullet Club war fucking bullshit. That's kind of been centered around. But yeah, look, the show was the main event. I went 4.25 plus. I could see people going 4.5 easily. Easy notebook match. Really great match. And I was thinking about this. Maybe the best Tama Tonga singles match he's ever had. I can't think of one that would have been better than this.
Interesting. So I didn't see it. The only one I'm trying to think off the top of my head, my favorite Tama Tonga. It's not going to take a long time to think about.
This is not a guy who rips up the G1.
No.
Okay.
No.
And when else does he have singles matches? So it's like this was better than any singles match that I could think of that he's ever had. So, which isn't surprising when you've got, Shingo in the mix. So I know people have been, because we didn't really talk about Royal Quest. We did talk about Ospreay Sabre though, didn't we?
I don't know if we ever got to. Actually, no, we did. Yeah, because people have kind of said
it.
We did. We talked about it a little bit. I didn't really have much to say about that show. I didn't think it was that great of a show. It was kind of. I don't know if it was similar to, because you watched both, right? Did you watch Fighting Spirit and Royal Quest?
Yes, I have to look at the Royal Quest card because
I think I think that says enough though. I watched the show and it was ultimately like when it was over, I was like, yeah, it was all right. Yeah, and then Ospreay and Sabre, I think I talked about it a couple weeks ago. I think those guys have had so many better matches with each other, and they've had so many better matches this year. It's still a really, really good match, and it's we're at a period now where with Will Ospreay, if it's like 4.25 plus, it's like, yeah, it was all right or whatever. But I mean, it wasn't even the best match that he had that week, and Sabre's had a bunch of great matches this year. Ospreay's had an insane amount of great matches this year. So ultimately, like, I was a little disappointed by that match. So I really had nothing else to say. I was like, the rest of the show kind of bored me, and then the main event didn't live up to my expectations. So it's like, I don't know. You really want me to review that show for you? 2 weeks later?
We had this conversation about Ospreay Sabre. So now I thought Shingo Ishii was better. Slightly better.
I think you're probably right. Yeah, I would agree.
So Shingo, once again, it's just a matter of being in important matches. If he's in important matches, he'll deliver. He had the Ospreay match.
Always has.
Look at his resume this year. The Ospreay match, the Ishii match here, now this Tama Tonga match, dragging that guy to a great match. Shingo's great. He's just so great. And, but I liked Will and Sabre. I had it at 4.5. I thought Shingo and Ishii was a little better. I'm looking at the card now, and yeah, like I said, I only watched the top two. I feel like we did have this conversation, but people every week, they're like, you got to talk about Royal Quest.
It's like they happened 3 weeks ago, and I didn't think the show was that good. What do you want me to tell you?
But we didn't, I think what happened was.
Did we say we were going to do it next week or something like that?
No, I watched the top two, and then that's all we talked about. I don't think you went through, and we're not doing that now because it was a fucking year ago. It was October 14th.
Right. This company has had 5 shows since then. It's like, what are we
Rich, give me your Desperado versus Trent Seven thoughts now.
I don't remember. I don't remember anything. I watched 1,000.
Look, I'm sorry we didn't get to it in real time. I don't know what happened that week, but I don't know. We just, for whatever reason, we didn't review the whole show, and I don't think we're going to go back today and do that. So
no.
I didn't even watch the rest of the show, so I literally cannot review that for you. But that was Fighting Spirit Unleashed, and now we have the Power Struggle.
Power Struggle, yes, at the former Bodymaker Coliseum. We don't call it that anymore.
Always
but
the Bodymaker to me.
It's always the Bodymaker. It's some Edion, Reno, Saka, not Bodymaker, baby, for forever. It'll always be Bodymaker to me. So the card is Jon Moxley versus Great Okan. Yes, Jon Moxley flying over to Japan to face the Great Okan. Tonga Loa versus David Finley. Naito and Tsuji versus Sonata and Yuya Uemura. Super Junior Tag Final. So the Super Junior Tag League has been going on. I haven't watched any of it. I'm kind of doing a mostly a New Japan detox right now. Haven't really liked a lot of their stuff lately, so I think it's probably good to just take a quick little break from New Japan, then probably jump back in at this Power Struggle show. So I don't know about the Super Junior Tag League. I don't know what's been good, what's been bad so far. Maybe you can chime in here. But
I have watched none of it.
Okay,
and I'm gonna go back and watch. I'm going to use Cage Match as my guide and watch the top stuff sometime this week because I have to get it in for the November Notebook Roundup. I've got to watch at least the top stuff. Yeah, obviously we know who's in the final on the show. Don't worry, guys. Rich is doing his detox, but he's going to be locked in for the World Tag League. He's going to be on top of that.
Oh yeah, that's why I did the detox. So I'm making sure I watch every single show of the World Tag League all the way.
Locked in. I hear
daily,
you have a couple.
I've heard rumors, Joe, that you're thinking about doing daily World Tag League audio on the Patreon.
No, that's not true. But I did hear that you are going to be so locked in that you're going to be doing guest spots on Super J-Cast to chime in with your
they do that gimmick. Yeah, they do that gimmick during the World Tag League because they're so locked in that they decide to take a couple weeks off of the show, mostly to devote time to watching the World Tag League, I'm assuming, but not to talk about it because they're just so locked in.
No, listen, Rich is pulling the wool over your guys' eyes. I saw him telling Damon and Joel in a group chat, guys, let's plan this out. I want to come in night 3, night 8. I like the lineup for night 11.
I can't with them because they do this gimmick every year where they have guests come in and review the shows every single for the entire World Tag League. They don't host the show; they have guests come in and host the show. So it's a nice. So I think I'm going to be one of those. I imagine I'm going to be one of those.
You're now committed.
I'm completely committed. God damn it! Hopefully they don't actually call me because they're so invested in the World Tag League as we all are every single year with the World Tag League. So yeah, that's why I'm doing my detox. So I'm all in. On the World Tag League. But as far as the Super Junior Tag League final, Catch 2-2, Akira and TJP versus Sho and Yoshinobu Kanemaru, House of Torture.
Now listen, I like I said, I have not watched a single match from this tour. I can't comment on any of this. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they're doing shtick. I would assume that Sho is wielding the wrench, but I don't know that for sure. I'm sure that Catch 2-2 have been having phenomenal matches because they're one of the best tag teams in the world right now. But, by the time Power Struggle rolls around, I will have watched most of the key matches, if not all of the key matches from the tour. In fact, I was planning on chipping away with that tonight now that I'm caught up on everything else. So, we'll see. I don't have a feel for this finals match or who's going to win or anything like that because I haven't watched any of them.
Right. Similar as well. So never openweight 6-man, our favorite team in the world, Okada, Ishii, and Tanahashi versus TMDK, Nichols, Haste, and Zack Sabre Jr. That looks fun. I'm into that.
Sure, why not?
Not into this. IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship, I believe a first-time ever dream match here. Hiromu Takahashi defending the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title against Taiji Ishimori. I cannot wait to see what happens when these two guys getting a scrap for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title.
Yeah, I'm out on Ishimori. And Hiromu is now firmly a guy who looks better on paper than he ever is in reality. That's where he is now in his career. He's the guy where you see him on paper.
You loved him at the beginning of this year. Remember at the beginning of this year, you were like, this guy's got a low-key Wrestle of the Year case going to be made. And then,
was that this year or last year?
I think that was this year. I think it was the beginning of this year. But certainly that feels like a long time ago.
Hold on. Let me take a look. Yeah. He had a couple good months at the beginning of the year. That's true.
He did.
But he's back to his old hijinks of kind of just blending in. That really tailed off quickly. But, he's the kind of guy now you see him with an interesting opponent, and then the match happens, and you're like, I don't know. This is fine, I guess.
This will be the fourth match, by the way, between these two for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title. And then there's numerous Best of the Super Junior matches, lumped in there as well. So these guys have faced each other a lot. And I'm not interested. So great. And then your main event, IWGP United States Heavyweight title match. Will Ospreay defending against Shota Umino against Will Ospreay. So we saw their match at Rev Pro. Obviously, Shooter is a little bit different than he was then. Will's obviously a little bit different than he was then too. So I'm curious how this works out. This will be it's a big spot for Shota. You know what I mean? This is a huge spot for him. And I'm somebody that's been, on the fence about him. I've been more negative than positive about him. He can silence me very easily with this match. I mean, it's hard this year in 2023. If you go out there and don't have a phenomenal match with Will Ospreay, then it's on you. You know what I mean? Like that's where I'm at with this. Barring some sort of injury or Will deciding he doesn't want to work or whatever, which is never the case. This will be a big benchmark here for Shota. It's like, all right, dude, if you can't have a spectacular match with Will Ospreay in 2023, then I don't know. Maybe you're not that guy then. So we'll see.
He could win, right?
I mean, at some point, Will's got to drop that title. I don't know. Are they going to keep that until? Are you going to try to do the Dome? You're going to try to do some Wrestle Kingdom thing with Omega or whatever again? So no, maybe no, probably not. Actually, no. I think he's going to keep the belt.
I think he could win. I'm not saying he will win.
He could certainly win, but I would doubt it, I guess.
And some other matches on the show.
When he came out to challenge him, he kind of buried him in kayfabe. He's like, "Oh, you again."
Yeah, that was pretty good. I like that. Yeah.
No, when he came out, to challenge, Will was like, "Oi, you again? Oh, okay, boy." Like,
oh, bro, you again? Oh, all right. Beat you once. Yeah. He definitely wasn't super threatened by Shooter's presence. So.
Right. But yeah, no, I don't know. I would, I think he'll have it going into Wrestle Kingdom too, but maybe not, because who knows what his match is, and maybe they don't want, like, so if he has a really big opponent at Wrestle Kingdom, okay, let's say Kenny Omega or something, and he's losing because he's leaving the territory, maybe you want to get the title off of him before that. See, that's what I'm saying. So he could lose here, and then you could just do whatever big dream match or whatever it is you're going to do with him at Wrestle Kingdom, and you don't have to worry about like titles and politics getting in the way from that standpoint. That's why I say there's a chance he could lose. But I don't know what they're doing with him at Wrestle Kingdom, so who knows? Yeah,
exactly. So that's your power struggle. It doesn't seem like a Osaka show, you know what I mean? I guess there's a few other matches, nothing that's going to change anything. Kevin Knight, Kushida, Tama Tonga versus Bushi, Shingo, and Teton. 4-way tag match, Desperado and Wato. It's just a bunch of dudes. Who cares?
What are these matches now?
They're just a bunch of other matches. They're not on my list. They just got announced. As I'm reading them, I'm like, who cares?
What, they just tags?
They're just tags. They're just dudes. Yeah, who cares? It's just me naming off roster members of New Japan Pro Wrestling. You don't really care. So.
What's with all, like, why are we doing David Finley Tangaloa? Like, why?
Gotta have a Bullet Club thing,
do you
singles
gotta?
Match. I don't gotta, but they gotta.
So this Finley thing didn't happen, right?
What do you mean Finley thing?
Like, Finley didn't happen. They attempted to push him, and it didn't work out.
It's dead in the water. I assume it's dead in the water. I mean, it's not. It's not thriving, I guess. It's the push is surviving maybe, but it certainly is not thriving. I mean, he's not the Never Openweight champion anymore. That was done in October or whatever, earlier this year, or earlier this month, I should say. Guess we're in November, last month. So that kind of felt like the end of that. I don't know. It feels like he's just kind of sputtering.
It feels like there's no trajectory for him to have a big-time Wrestle Kingdom match.
Right now, no. Unless it's just some sort of... I guess there's some other Bullet Club thing you could do, but does anybody on Earth care anymore? What side of I don't know. I suppose you could maybe do that. I don't know. Yeah, Finley is an interesting case, or I don't know if it's impossible that he's finally going elsewhere.
Maybe his deal is up in February too, right, and he could just fuck off to NXT with his brother.
Yeah, it feels like it wasn't that way, and then now it kind of feels like it is that way again. And I know nothing. I know nothing about his contract status. I know nothing about what he wants to do or whatever. But it felt like where we were at halfway through this year and where we are now feels more like this guy's just playing out the strings.
Hey, look, the angle with Jay White was excellent, and I thought he got off to a great start with the new look and the character work and all that. But he just had a dud of a year.
Yeah.
It didn't work. He
stinks. The guy stinks. I've been waiting for this guy to grab the fucking bull by the horns for years now, and he just doesn't. So
this is his chance. He got the big push, and
right,
they put him in charge of a unit and everything, and he just had a flat year. There's just nothing there. So how much longer are we going to try this? I mean, this guy debuted in 2015.
Yeah, he's been around a very
We're going on a fucking decade at this guy.
I mean, David, think of all the careers that Jay White has had in all that time period as well. They came up together. I mean, right, Jay White has done so many different things. He's still doing different things. He's this, he's that. I mean, he's so much more accomplished. He's left. He's won titles.
Young Lions together.
Yeah, and it's like, and then there's Finley, who's just kind of like, he's just kind of there. So I maybe it's the best for him to move on. I mean, I think, I don't know if New Japan feels like they have a necessity to kind of put him in a certain spot or what. I don't know. Yeah, but this guy feels like there's just nothing there. He's sputtering.
You know, for years and years, he wouldn't work any indies. In the last few years, he's been working a lot of indies too, which is interesting. I don't know what that means, but Nobody would miss him.
No, he's not worth the investment. There's so many other guys that you have up there. You got your Gabe Kids and your Clark Connor. I mean, that whole wave coming.
Dude,
yeah. I mean, Connors and I mean, God, you have guys like Callum Newman who are next man up or whatever. You got Drilla Maloney. You have so many next guys up. It's like, dude, you're gonna waste a spot on David Finley.
Yeah, that next wave is coming up behind him.
Yeah, Yuya Uemura's coming up. You got
all the young Lions coming back.
Yeah,
he's this would be the time to get out of it, to leave the territory. I mean, wrestling's different now, though. People don't just they never leave anymore. You know, people don't move around as much. So it's like. But this would be it for him. I mean, I feel like we've had this conversation like 3 different times.
I know. And then he had that one push, and we were like, we were wrong. David Finley. And then he just kind of shit the bed. Now we're like, all right, we're here.
Petered out. Like this push didn't work out. Like no one needs to see all these matches against these nonstop matches against the Gorillas of Destiny. I mean, it's brutal. You can't get into it. Anyway, that's Saturday, right?
That is Saturday, yes, November 4th.
That's this weekend. So
we'll review that next week. Yeah, we'll review that next weekend for sure. Let's do MLW, and then we'll get to the world of WWE. MLW, a few big-time departures from Major League Wrestling. Alex Hammerstone, Lance Anoa'i, and Juicy Finau are all out. All 3 men requested their releases this week, and they were granted. Now, Joe,
so these releases were granted?
They were granted, yes.
Okay. The last I saw, they were still like...
I am of the let me double check. I know Hammerstone sure. I know Hammerstone for sure was granted. I think Lance and Juicy. Let me make sure, but I'm almost positive they got they got granted as well. Yeah, all 3 got granted.
Yeah, this is a desolate roster. I mean, Hammerstone obviously was their guy for years and years, and I thought they did a great job pushing him. Lance Anoa'i he's a jag. I mean, he's just a total nothing. He did you see any of his Noah stuff?
Yeah.
He was fine.
No,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's the type of guy that you mentioned it before. A guy that looks good on paper. You're like, all right, here we go. And then the bell rings. You're just like, yeah, he just doesn't have anything.
He'll never be a star, and he'll never be pushed anywhere he goes. He's just a guy. He doesn't have a good look. His work is fine. Did you see that quote? He's like, I'd love to be part of the bloodline. Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, geez, you fucking think?
Yeah.
Hey, call me. I'd love to be a part of it. Oh, yeah. You don't think every family member has said, hey, you know what? It's like the Hart fan. It's like all Bruce Hart's now. Like, hey, I got an idea, Brett. I'm sure you do. Like,
yeah. So, and Juicy Finau stinks.
Oh, he's brutal. Remember that brief period where people thought it was like funny that he was bad and stuff, and it's just like, what? Irony wrestling bullshit. He's just terrible, horrible.
It's not even like he's just bad.
Like, well, there was a while where people were doing the irony thing with him, and then that got done, and now he's just fucking atrocious, and everybody knows he's atrocious. And yeah,
I think he had like an interesting looking face, and he was a big guy, so like I think Janela got him into Game Changer.
Yeah, there was a brief period of like, haha, for him in Game Changer.
Who's this diamond in the rough?
Right.
Yeah, but he fucking stinks. Like the guy's not good. He'll be back in Game Changer, constantly pulling up his tights and gassing within 3 minutes and having bad matches. But the point here is these are 3 pushed acts that are now gone. They were doing the Samoan SWAT team deal, even though Juicy's not Samoan. And Hammerstone obviously was a big time pushed guy. But I mean, you look at we talked about the TV taping they did the night of Slaughterhouse, and it was just absolutely brutal and devoid of star power. And they've got another taping coming up on December 7th, about a month from now. This one will be in New York. They're going to do that the same night as the, I guess it's MLW One Shot, which is their next Fight TV special pay-per-view. And that's got the Alex Kane, Matt Cardona match. Cause we can't, everyone has to book Matt Cardona.
Gotta book Matt Cardona. Yeah.
I'm so over that guy, but listen, they could use Matt Cardona cause it is ugly. I mean, some of the people that they're using and I guess they could use a freshening up from that standpoint with their roster, but it's not looking good. I guess their Fusion is on YouTube, right?
Correct.
Doesn't even have.
Yeah, it's all on YouTube.
It's nowhere else. Is it on BN anymore or anything? I don't think
BN,
so. Right?
I don't know. I never knew about BN. I never was able to get BN. I never knew how to find BN. As far as I know, it is just on YouTube, but it might still be on BN as well. Actually, I think it is still on BN, but like, it's just on YouTube. So why would you fuck around with BN if you could just watch it on YouTube? You know what I mean? Like, I think that's how most people are probably doing it. So
they're like. On Fusion, they're airing matches from Arena Mexico. It's like you may as well, right? Because
why not?
Your match, and they brought Selena De La Renta back. I was through with her the first time.
And we're doing the she's executive producing gimmick again, as if anybody on fucking earth gives a shit if Selena De La Renta is executive producing an episode of Fusion.
I don't get that gimmick or why it's interesting. I don't understand.
Well, it got like headlines. The first time they did it, they sent it around all the clickbait sites and all the aggregators, and they were like, "Latina woman makes history by executive producing first wrestling show." And it's like, what does that mean? Like you just regurgitated something that Court Bauer, a wrestling promoter, gave you. That's not actually a big deal. Like, what are you talking about? And now
these sites are so fucking bad.
They're doing it again. They're doing it again because they said last week's Fusion was executive produced by Selena De La Renta. So I saw a bunch of headlines. Selena De La Renta executive produces NLW Fusion. That doesn't mean anything. That doesn't.
You know what's funny?
Anything.
Like they'll regurgitate MLW's fake press releases for worked that are worked storylines,
right?
Or meaningless
meetings that they're taking. Deals. Court Bauer calls Amazon about television deal. It's like, well, great. I'm sure
they'll all do that, right? Because it's just like, oh, content, content, put out, right? Then they'll all put out their friendly reminders that SmackDown is airing on FS1 within an hour of each other and deny that it's not orchestrated. Like, what are we doing here? We all know the games you guys are playing. We all know that you're playing the game. Okay? Because we see it with the MLW stuff. So Rich is over there tugging the collar.
No, I mean, I get all those MLW press releases too. And it's like, I can set my watch to it of like, I look at them and I go, oh boy, this is going to be a fun one to see the headline for. And then 10 minutes later, it's like MLW lands landmark television deal. And it's like MLW is now available in Qatar on, this random channel. And then I look at the headline and it's MLW lands, landmark television deal. And I'm like, no, what? Read the press release. It's terrible. It's not
I don't even open them anymore. I just delete the emails. They're all junk. And a lot of it, like you're saying, is like worked storylines, sent out as press releases. And these dopey fucking sites just eat it up. Press release, MLW. Oh, first Latina to executive produce a show. It's a fucking storyline. What are you doing? You dopes. So, yeah, I don't know. It's they're in a bad way, MLW. Now it's Selena De La Renta's back. They're bringing Cardona in.
Yeah,
Cardona loses a lot of juice just by virtue of working everywhere.
Right. You can see him everywhere, constantly, all the time. Yeah, he's not. There was a while there where he was a special attraction on the indies. The GCW stuff we loved. I put it over. I thought it was great. I thought it was really, really good stuff. But that was like, oh my God, it's Zack Ryder on the indies doing death matches. But that was also like 2 or 3 years ago at this point. And now you can watch the guy anywhere. He's wrestling everywhere. He's on NWA, he's on NLW, he's on this, he's on that, he's on this, he's on that. Like, the specialness is starting to wear off, and it doesn't feel like he's got any sort of buzz to him anymore.
Well, yeah, that's why you put him on a pay-per-view and you sell 200 buys, because it's not special because he's everywhere.
Right.
I can watch him wrestle Alex Kane in New York next month for MLW, or I can watch him in Game Changer, or I could watch him in my local fucking indie, so it kind of takes the edge off. And it's the reason I'm no longer interested in what he's doing, because he's totally burnt out to me. He goes everywhere, he does the same promo, and it's just not interesting. And at the end of the day, he's Matt Cardona. So, it's not like he's going out there, he's not Toshiaki Kawada bell to bell. So at the end of the day, there's just nothing there. But yeah, MLW is a mess. They're probably in the worst shape that they've been in since the return in terms of roster strength, in terms of buzz. And nobody talks about MLW outside of these fake press releases that everybody puts out. Do you ever see fans talking about MLW?
No,
or,
never.
I mean, if it wasn't for us, nobody would review their shows.
I never hear a podcast review it or talk about it or preview it or anything. Yeah.
Yeah, and, I was thinking about, maybe I'll start reviewing MLW again. But then I looked at the taping, and I'm like, I'm not watching that slop.
Oh, no. Don't do that.
It's garbage. I'm not watching that. And then I turn around, and they're airing matches from Arena Mexico, and that's cool if you never saw them, but I've seen them. I'm paying attention to it. But that's really cool if for people who have never seen them before. They have the Rocky Romero Volador Jr. match from June on Fusion a couple of weeks ago.
So are they doing English commentary over that then?
That I don't know, because like I said, I saw the match already, so I didn't bother watching.
You're not watching. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay.
So, and then all the matches from, they're working in the match from the tapings, because they're doing on the 18th, they have a fight. Okay, so on the 18th, they're doing Fightland. So this is so confusing, because it's Mance Warner versus Matt Cardona, loser leave town. But they already announced
Cardona's on the next. Both guys are announced for the one-shot thing in New York.
Well, I don't know. No, I know Cardona is.
Well, no,
he's getting a title shot against Alex King.
I'm looking at it right now. They've announced Mance Warner.
Oh, they are. So yeah. So the Fightland has Cardona versus Mance Warner. Loser leaves MLW, and they're bringing the CMLL guys, because it's Cavanario and Rocky Romero versus Ichiban and Mascara Dorada 2.0. And Alex Kane is defending against Jacob Fatu. And there's a lot of speculation that Jacob Fatu might be on his way out as well, because all of his boys left. Is Fatu booked for one shot in December?
Let me see. I just closed it out. Let me grab it again, because they have it. And now this isn't official, but it says, like, hey, if you're buying your tickets, signed to compete and appear include Jacob Fatu is on that list as well.
Okay, what matches are announced? Just Alex King versus
matches.
Matt Cardona?
Yeah, I think that as far as I can tell, that is it. It is not on their website, of course, because why would they have matches listed on their website? I'm sure I can try to figure it out if we need, but I think it's just
so Alex Kane and Matt Cardona. That'll be the title match for December, and they're saying Mance Warner is scheduled to appear.
On their website, they are, yes,
for one shot in December.
Right.
So Cardona's going to beat him at Fightland. Right? That they're just doing that to not give away the finish. Right? I mean, because they're not going to blow the Cardona Alex Kane match. It's the biggest match they can make. What match can they make bigger than Kane than Cardona versus Kane?
That's it. Yeah, that's for sure.
Because they're having Kane versus Fatu, which would be the only other. But they're doing that one. They're doing Kane and Fatu.
Probably beats him. Maybe he sends Fatu packing, and then Fatu,
then wrestles Cardona in December.
That makes sense.
After Cardona beats Mance Warner, or Cardona Mance Warner will have a non-finish or something. But Cardona's not the one that's going to lose. Cardona's not losing to Mance Warner in November.
Oh God, no.
That's not happening. So anyway, yeah, that's what's going on with MLW. I wonder what the story is behind those guys wanting out. I don't think that story's out yet.
I haven't seen anything about it yet either. I can't help but think that TNA is starting to maybe be something that people are thinking, hey, you know what? Maybe I'll get a little bit of a run there. I don't know. I don't know if it's WWE, opening up the gates now and signing people. I don't know if it's now Impact feels like it, or TNA feels like a place that people can go. I don't know, but it felt very quick that all three of these guys decided, whoa, now I'm out. I want to get out of here right now. So I don't know. Maybe there was just an opening in their contracts that worked out. I don't know.
I think the story will come out eventually. The thing is, they weren't going to talk shit to Fightful or anybody else until they got the release.
Right.
Right? Because you want to play nice until you get what you want. Then you let some time pass. And if people ask, maybe you feel like dishing the dirt. That's kind of how these things usually work. So maybe we'll find out at some point why there was this sudden exodus of pushed talent leaving an already depleted roster, which is going to be temporarily supplemented by the CMLL guys for a little while, but that's a temporary solution.
Yeah.
Rocky Romero is the mover and shaker in pro wrestling right now.
Oh, God, yes.
And he's doing a great thing by getting all of these CMLL guys, all of this great exposure in all of these companies. But anyway, I don't know if you could hear what's going on, but my dog is bugging out. So why don't you set up Crown Jewel, and I got to mute for a second.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, do you want to go?
No. She's fine. She just, let me just go, just set up Crown Jewel. I'll be back in like 30 seconds.
No problem. All right. I will set up Crown Jewel here. WWE's latest sports washing PLE, as we mentioned, is this Saturday. You can watch it, Rehad. It's on Peacock. And so this is Crown Jewel. I mean, the big match here is Reigns versus LA Knight. We'll talk. I'll wait for Joe to come back to talk about that one. I'll read the rest of the card, and then we can go back to the ones that actually matter, as opposed to, I don't think you have strong thoughts about a lot of these other matches. WWE Women's title. You got Io Sky defending the title against Bianca Belair. Cody Rhodes versus Damian Priest. John Cena coming over to Saudi Arabia to face Solo Sikoa. Rey Mysterio and Logan Paul for the U.S. title. Rey Mysterio is the champion there. WWE Women's World title. Fatal 5-way. Rhea Ripley, Nia Jax, Zoe Stark, Shayna Baszler, and Raquel Rodriguez. Your semi-main event is WWE World Heavyweight title. Seth Rollins defending against Drew McIntyre. And then, as I mentioned, Roman Reigns versus LA Knight. I believe there's also a pre-show match, and I believe that is Sami Zayn is in that one. Let me make sure. Yes, Sami Zayn and JD McDonough is going to be in the pre-show match as well. So I forget if this is the first time that Sami's come over. He's probably come over before and done the Saudi Arabia stuff. But, he was a guy who was very much not into going to Saudi Arabia, who now suddenly is fine going to Saudi Arabia. So, I don't know. Ask him, not me. But there you go. That is the card for Crown Jewel. And when Joe gets back, we'll dig in a little bit more to Roman Reigns and LA Knight, because I think that's the match that we at least, I think, have a little bit more to talk about than any of the other stuff. Joe, you appear to be back. Everything all good? Ready to talk about Crown Jewel?
Yeah, she just had to go out and take a leak.
There you go. Well, happens to the best of us. So, Roman Reigns and LA Knight. This has been, it's you gotta, I don't know if you gotta hand it to them. You gotta tip your cap or whatever. They have gotten LA Knight to a level of legit main event level. I could have never in a million years thought that Eli Drake would be doing this, but God damn it, they did it. And he's over, and the crowd loves him, and people are all into him. And he's definitely losing here, by the way. He's definitely going to eat a Superman punch. Maybe somebody comes in to interfere on his behalf. The dude's not winning, for the record. He ain't winning the Universal title here in Saudi Arabia. And this might be yet another victim of the Roman Reigns thing, where this guy gets over, cheats, eats Superman punch, and he's out, and that's it for that guy for now. And then they're never as hot as they were in the anticipation of the Roman match. But I mean, I guess I got to give them at least the smallest bit of credit that somehow, some way, they've gotten LA Knight to be a legit main event, or at least for this particular month right now at this point. Whether this sustains or not, who knows? But they've done a decent enough job with LA Knight to get him to this point. You got to at least give that to them.
This is not a Sami Zayn, Cody, or even Drew McIntyre situation where you can make an argument that he should win. LA Knight absolutely should not win.
Oh, zero.
Roman Reigns should beat this guy. Now, if you want to protect LA Knight and not have him get beat clean, I guess that's fine. I wouldn't even really be concerned with that. He's an older guy. He isn't very good in the ring. He's over because of a catchphrase. I don't think there's legs here. You make the money with him while you can, absolutely. He's not someone you consider to put your top title on. You don't even consider putting your fake world title on him. The one that Rollins has. Like, I don't even think Knight is at that level.
Oh, no, he's just because he can't go. Once the bell rings, he just can't. He cannot go. He can't go to that level. He cannot
go. Even at the, even in this company where it's not the most important thing, there's still a working standard in modern WWE that he does not meet. And there's no long-term legs with a guy like this. So I don't even think if Roman, beats him clean in the middle, that I would be all that concerned or worked up about it from an analyst standpoint.
No. This is building him up to get beaten by Roman Reigns. That's what this is.
Yes, it's a big old who cares if this guy gets beat. I mean, he's not going to be in your future plans or anything like that. He's hot now, and it got handed to you, so you take advantage of it. Look, in another era, they might not have taken advantage of getting handed something. We've seen that a million times where they cut the legs off of things, and they didn't cut the legs off of him. But I don't expect the match to be any good because he's not any good. And Roman doesn't really have good matches anymore. He has very shtick heavy matches where, he's over with his aura and things like that. And so it's not like I'm looking forward to this at all. I am not. And I don't really, and then Rollins, I'm sure you went over the card with the, defending the fake title against Drew McIntyre. I don't know how anyone could care about the fake title. Even if you're into WWE, you have to see that as a total farce. And the interesting match is Rey Mysterio versus Logan Paul. How hard are they going to go? Does Mysterio want to have a great match? And if he does, I think they can have one. I'm all in on Logan Paul, watching him wrestle. So that I'm into. Cena and Solo Sikoa, the whole deal there is they're saying, Solo is going to thumb him in the neck, and so he can't talk anymore or whatever. I think, is the build to that. But I mean, on paper, Solo should win, right? There's no reason John Cena should beat him. I think if Cena does beat him, it tells you what they think of Solo Sikoa.
Yeah. I would have. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if we've reached the stage yet where Cena's fully putting dudes over. He probably should. Like 100 times out of 100, this guy should just lose this match. You're not going to lose. John Cena's not losing an ounce of star power, and you could do a lot for Solo to have him get that big scalp, get that big win over Cena. But I think, like you said, we'll really know, what they truly think of this guy after this match. If Cena, if he gets close and then Cena just puts him in the attitude adjustment and pins him, we'll kind of know. All right, well, yeah, that's the ceiling that they have for this guy. That's what they currently think of this guy. But yeah, I honestly, I'd have him beat Cena. I mean, why not? At this point, who cares if Cena's?
Yeah, I mean, Cena's going to be around until the acting work comes back with all these various strikes or whatnot. I think the writers are back, but the actors are still out. So, but this might give us a little clue of what they really think of Solo. I don't think Solo Sikoa is a future star. I'm out on him.
No.
He just doesn't have it. I at one point in NXT, I thought he might, but I can't see this guy being a future thing. And then, there's some other stuff on the show. The big controversy today was, is Kairi Sane on the internal roster or not?
There was a lot of arguments between a bunch of weird people about Kairi Sane on the internal WWE roster or not.
Well, the WrestleVotes guy said she was, and then Mike Johnson said that she wasn't. But then a few hours later, Mike Johnson posted a correction saying she was, in fact, on the internal roster. But Johnson put a little disclaimer on there where he was like, well, as of 2:00, she wasn't. But now she is. Kind of like not admitting that he couldn't admit that he was wrong, I guess. Or maybe she wasn't on the internal roster earlier in the day. Here's my take on all of this. I don't give a fuck whether Kairi Sane is on the internal roster or not.
Were you getting scoops during this as well? Were you also talking to your people and trying to get, the rubber meeting the road there on Kairi Sane on the internal roster or not? Because
no. Oh. Because who could possibly fucking care? We all know she's coming back, so what's the difference? Why was this even a thing? Like, everyone knows she's coming back. What difference does it make if she's on this dopey internal roster today?
Internal roster, yeah.
or if she's on it tomorrow, what fucking difference does it make? Why was this even a story? You know what I mean? Like, I can't wrap my head around that. It's not like it's a surprise. We all know she's back. So it's like, who cares whether she's on the roster now or whether she's on the roster next week? Because we know she's going to. It's so stupid. Did you see Sari is coming back to America, but not with WWE?
I did.
You see that, Rich Craig?
I did.
So could this be a Tony Khan acquisition? Could it be an Impact acquisition? Could it be something else?
One of these 9 washout women's wrestling indie promotions that keep showing their asses.
Wow.
Yeah. Could be WoW. Could be the one with the hat maker, the one that sent us press releases about how their hats are made by a famous hat maker. Ignite. There's Ignite. There's this other one that's showing their ass on Twitter today. I forget what their name is.
Well, none of those are contract promotions.
No,
those are all just shitty little indies that are run by scam artists that are all going to, run 2 shows and disappear. So it's just these women's wrestling promotions, it's so messy. Why is it always so messy?
The one today was like record time to be messy because it was like they were reacting to the news that New Japan had sent out a notice this week saying, hey, stop being weird around our talent. Everybody kind of assuming that somebody was being weird around Julia over the weekend in Las Vegas or whatever. I don't know if that was actually confirmed by anybody, but that's essentially what, at least the little bit of the rumors were kind of like, it was probably something with, Julia and whatnot. So this person tweets out like, well, when you work for our company, your family, something like that. And then a bunch of people are just like, who the fuck even are you? It's just so weird.
Yeah. Who are you? And why are you blaming New Japan for a creepy fan?
Yeah, it was so weird. But of course, yeah. And then they just come and they go and it's just whatever.
They're always run by some fucking weirdo,
always, 100%. Yeah,
it's always some
I think
fucking
the hat
weirdo.
one isn't as weird as the other ones. The one with the hats isn't as weird, but it's like the one with the hats is like, it's kind of doing like a while. It's like, oh, all of our characters are going to be, and I'm like, all right, I'm out already. It was like, describing. It was describing their universe, and I was like, I'm out. If you have a universe, I'm out. I don't care. I don't care about your universe.
It's all these indie ones that drive me nuts. It'll be like their Twitter name is written in kanji. Like it's like,
right.
Come on, stop.
Bringing respectability back to women's wrestling, and it's like we booked 19 people that need flights, and it's like this is not going to work already. I can tell you right now, the amount of people on your card that need flights, you are already not making money. This thing is done. You might not even run one show at this point.
Begging fans to sponsor wrestlers.
Right. What was there was the one too where they booked the people and then they just kept watching them sleep, and then they were tweeting about watching them sleep, and it's like, what?
Oh, that whole thing.
Doing? God, help us.
They booked Venny, I think.
Yeah, and then it's like, I'm watching Venny sleep. I can't believe it. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
Did that need to be tweeted?
Psycho. Yeah.
Did that need to be sent to the world? Did everybody need to know that?
Yeah, it did, because it blew that person up, and now they can't promote wrestling.
Yeah, well, good, I guess.
So it was. In a weird way, it's a good thing. But it's there was one today I was reading like this long fucking notes app thing, and I'm like, why am I reading this? I don't care. Like,
it was the guy I was talking about. It was the one I was talking about.
Yeah,
where it's like, when you're here, your family, and nobody gets disrespected. And then he said something. He's like, the ladies that work for me, and everybody was like, ladies, excuse me, like
when you're here, what are you, the fucking Olive Garden?
Right. It was so weird. And everyone's like, I don't know who you are. Like, what is this?
All these indies want to be like, they want to start up these American Joshi things. And then they run these shows and like 200 people show up. Like, it's not sustainable.
Right. If you're going to fly 25 Joshi in, I don't know. I think you need to have a better business model than fly in.
It's never going to work.
No.
It's not going to work. Garbage.
But I'm on Twitter and they love Joshi. So if I book a Joshi show with 75 Joshi, it's going to sell out. And then the 150 people show up. And, okay, well, now I need to buy
Wasn't there a story
flights.
where the one guy brought everyone to all the wrestlers to Chuck E. Cheese, and then that's why the show started late? I swear to God, that's a real story.
No, I believe that's a shoot, yes.
It's fucking
disaster. Costco. I think it was Costco, wasn't it? They were eating Costco pizza.
Oh, I thought it was Chuck E. Cheese.
Or Sam's Club Pizza or something like that. They were eating pizza somewhere and they were all late to the show.
Oh, my God. And like the fans were there first or something?
Right. Well, the fans were there before the ring, which is always a bad thing. I've done that in a few indie shows where you showed up and went, there's no ring. That can't be good. And then sometimes the ring shows up. Sometimes it doesn't. But I believe that show, the ring didn't show up in time either. So,
yeah. I don't know. What else we got on this
better business
show?
Models than that. So I want to do a quickly note about Roman Reigns. He is going to be facing LA Knight at Crown Jewel. That is going to be Roman Reigns' final match of the year because he has announced that he's gone until the Royal Rumble. So nice schedule this guy has. Yeah. 7 matches this entire year for Roman Reigns. He had the Royal Rumble match against Kevin Owens. He had an Elimination Chamber match against Sami Zayn. He had the WrestleMania Sunday match against Cody Rhodes. He then took off until May. Well, January, February, April, May. He had a match in May, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus the Bloodline. Then he went away, came back in July, had the Money in the Bank match with the Usos versus the Bloodline. Then he didn't do anything until August when he faced Jey Uso at SummerSlam. And then he's not going to do anything until this match in October. And then he's going to win this, and then he's not going to be around for the rest of the year.
If he wins Wrestler of the Year, that's a fucking disgrace.
It's a farce if he wins Wrestler of the Year, and that's what I wanted to
It's not
bring
enough.
up.
Look, I don't even necessarily need you to be full time, but this is ridiculous. I mean, the guy
7 matches the entire year.
Yeah. So
I guess broadcast. You want to add house shows, Joe? I should be kind and add house shows, right?
He did a couple house shows. Yeah, he did a couple house shows.
He did a house show in March against Sami Zayn. He did a thing Cincinnati. He was in Cincinnati on a super show in June. And then he did a show in Mexico City in July. And then one other October one. He faced Sami Zayn in Kansas City. So that brings his total up to 10. If you add in the LA Night match, it'll be 11 matches that he's had this year. Total.
Well, it's
can't let this guy win Wrestler of the Year. That's a
well.
bad...
The other thing is matches. The matches aren't even good. Like a lot of the matches weren't even good. Like that SummerSlam match was awful. Like WWE fans didn't even like the SummerSlam match.
Yeah, that was
right?
the one. I mean, Elimination Chamber was a legitimately great match. I love that match.
There were a couple good ones.
The Royal Rumble one was okay. I didn't love the Royal Rumble one as much. WrestleMania, I don't even remember if I liked that match or not because I was just so blown away by the finish that I don't even recall if I liked the match or not.
The Cody match was good. It was pretty good.
The Night of Champions one with Owens and Zayn versus Reigns and Solo. Oh, people love that one, but I didn't like it. I remember that now. I don't know if people loved
that
it
was
that much. That was the one in Jeddah, another Saudi Arabia. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't do anything for me.
Then the Money in the Bank match, I didn't like. I forget if you liked it or not. That's the one where they were brawling all over the place and stuff. And I don't know. It was it's every match. Every one of them is the same. What am I going to describe a Roman Reigns match in 2023?
I have to tell you,
they're all the same.
You know, I don't even remember. I don't. Oh no! I remember that. That sucked. I didn't like.
It was
that match
boring
at
as
all.
fuck,
that
right?
Was, yeah. That was just boring as shit. And then, and everyone knew it until they got to their, the gimmick ending. Yeah, no, I didn't.
And then SummerSlam, which was bad. That was a literally bad match. Maybe these other ones I didn't like. That was a bad match.
Nobody liked the SummerSlam match. Like, that's not, you and I aren't invested or we don't like the style. No one liked it. I mean, think about this. This was a pay-per-view main event. And 2023 Dave Meltzer gave it 2 3/4.
Right.
You know how bad it has to be?
You got to be real bad.
In the age of Dave-flation to get 2 3/4 out of Dave Meltzer. And even with the bot armies of Cage Match, it's sitting at 4.63. Like, nobody liked that match. That was Jey Uso bombing in a main event role to the point where they have to call him Main Event Jay to try to get him over.
Right.
Because he bombed so badly. So, yeah, that match legitimately stunk. Yeah, he can't. Man, if he wins it, that's going to be. The problem is, where do you turn? Where do you turn as a voter? I'll tell you what. Why not Will Ospreay?
Yeah, I know, because people are always like, oh, but the draw, and Dave made a great case this week on Wrestling Observer Radio, where he said,
What'd he say?
He said something about, like, I mean, if you think about it, Will Ospreay's had, like, how many different promotions' best match that year?
Yeah.
And he's right. He's had AEW's best match of the year, probably, depending on what you think of Omega and Ospreay.
Definitely in the conversation, sure.
Definitely had the best New Japan match of the year, in my mind.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely had the best Impact match of the year.
Yep.
Probably had the best Rev Pro match of the year.
He did.
Or in the conversation for. I mean, maybe if Ishii and Jacobs or whatever, but.
Yeah, that's fair. I forgot about that one. But, yeah, for sure in the conversation, yeah.
Yeah, so several promotions, he had far and away the best match.
Argue he had the best match.
Right.
Yeah.
He's in he's in main events of all these promotions.
How about Noah with Marufuji?
Marufuji, great example too. Forgot about that one. Great match. That's got to count for something eventually, right? If you're always in main events and you're always having great matches.
The thing about it is, what voters are going to do is give him most outstanding and say, that's enough.
Right. Well, he should be both. It's like when the guy's so good they win the Cy Young and the MVP, I'm fine with it.
Right. Like the Wrestler of the Year is supposed to be a combination of work and business and promos and all that. But his work is so much better than everybody else. And, he's got main events under his belt.
Why do we make work not matter? Like, work should, you know what I mean?
We always make work not matter in these kinds of discussions, and it bothers me. It's like work is part of the conversation, and his work is so much better than everyone else and blows Roman Reigns so out of the water that's not even close. And then he did main event Copper Box twice this year. Okay. And one of those shows drew 6,000 fans. He was the most over person at All In. He obviously was an integral part of that show. The Wrestle Kingdom match against Kenny Omega was a very important match to that show. So it's not like this is some mid-carder. So why the fuck not Will Ospreay? That's my I'm voting him for both. I think at this point, I would vote him for both. Most outstanding and the wrestler of the year.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Mystico, to me, I'm not as high on his work as other people are. I think Mystico is good. I don't think he's great. I think there are better wrestlers. I think there's multiple people in CMLL who are having better bell-to-bell years than Mystico.
There's probably double-digit guys that I think are better than Mystico in that company. And that's not, I'm not ragging on Mystico in that sense, but I just think there's so many good wrestlers in that company right now.
I don't know if I'd go double-digit, but I definitely would go this year, people like Soberano Jr., I would go Teton, I would go. There's a handful of wrestlers in CMLL who I think have been better bell, because I don't love Mystico's bell-to-bell. Okay. And, like we talked to Ricardo Gallego, and he tells us, look, he's in all these main events. You can't discredit him, but at the same time, it's so much based around the tourism that he can't confidently say that Mystico is the one filling that building, even though he's in all the main events. And he gets over with the tourists because he's so charismatic and he's so great.
Because he's Mystico,
and,
yeah.
Right. And it's like, I think but see, there's mitigating factors with him. So I don't think I would vote him for the award for those reasons, because maybe that's true.
If you want to, I think there's a case to be made for him, but I don't think he's a slam dunk by any means. I don't think he's like no doubt that's the guy you got to vote for.
And then there's other guys, you look at Yuma Aoyagi, but it's just, it's like, I would love to, but you can't realistically vote for people in promotions at that level. You just can't. Not for the overall wrestler of the year. I can't vote for MJF. I can't do it. I'm sorry. That's not happening. He's had some great matches.
No.
He's had some great matches, but he's also been the center of a lot of fucking horse shit. And as we talked about at the top of the show, there's a lot of business concerns with MJF on top and consumer metrics in that company going in the wrong direction during his title reign. I can't vote for MJF. And then there's no one else to turn to in AEW. Right? I'm not forgetting anybody. Mox is not at that level.
No, Omega's not on that level.
Omega's been gone and not yet.
I saw somebody say like Okada, but that feels like the most boring vote ever.
Well, look,
there's nothing there. There's nothing there.
He hasn't been pushed as the top guy in New Japan, and
right.
he's being booked.
You're not voting Sonata. I'll tell you that. You ain't voting Sonata. So.
Yeah, and Sonata, no chance. Forget Sonata. He hasn't delivered at all, and there's nobody in Noah. Jake Lee has been a bust for Noah. Dragon Gate has no one that even deserves mention. So where do you turn? AAA? Vikingo might have a fringe case just for his bell to bell in 2 different countries and all that. It's like, where do you turn? I think it's Will Ospreay, because there's not enough on Roman Reigns' bell to bell resume. He just hasn't wrestled enough. And here's the thing about Roman too. He goes away and their business isn't hurt at all.
No.
The guy disappears and it doesn't mean anything. So how important is he?
Right. He comes and he goes and he comes and he goes and he comes and he goes, and it just chugs along and chugs along and chugs along. So it's like, I can't.
The same level. Like nothing changes when he leaves. So it's like, I'm going to talk about that when we do the Hall of Fame show too, for this great year, this alleged breakout business year. How come when he goes away, nothing changes? It's like, it doesn't matter that he's around or not. So I have talked myself into Will Ospreay for both most outstanding and wrestler of the year.
Damn right. Let's do
as of November 2nd. What about you?
I've been on that board for a while. It's like, the other arguments too, there guys feel like we're trying to not give this guy the award, and he could win most outstanding. He could win both. You know what I mean? Like he's fucking tremendous, and he's in main events, and he's in big time spots, and he's the best wrestler in the world by far. He can win both. It's not like this guy's having good matches on the undercard of these random ass indies. You know what I mean? Like the guy's main eventing AEW, main eventing in New Japan, main eventing in Rev Pro, main eventing in Impact. Like we can. This guy's okay. You can vote for this guy. It's all right. He's not the top champion in all these companies, but he's a big part of all these companies, so it's okay.
Why can't you be most outstanding in Wrestler of the Year? I would think being most outstanding gives you a great argument for Wrestler.
Absolutely. As long as you're not just like a mid-card dude that's just like, this guy's having good IC title matches or whatever on the undercard or whatever. You know, like it's not like one of those guys. You know, in 1980,
this is a worldwide
1987,
star.
You're not going to give it to Ricky Steamboat, you know, the Wrestler of the Year, because he was having good little matches with, you know, on the undercard of the WWF shows or whatever. But this is Will fucking Ospreay. You can give it to Will Ospreay. It's okay.
He's a worldwide star. He's a star on 3 continents.
Yeah, it's okay.
Main event shows all over the world, and
people are treating him like he's just like a dude on like that pops up in places and it works the mid card. No, this guy's big time star, big time dude. So it's okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we have run out of time, but Joe, I want to give you the floor for NXT Halloween Havoc Night 2. We can go a couple more minutes. Of course, like I said, I did not watch Halloween Havoc Night 2, but you did, so we cannot have it be for vain. So please go.
Absolute disgrace, by the way, that you didn't watch Halloween Havoc Night 2, which, as we predicted, Rich, was in fact better than Halloween Havoc Night 1. You know, it looked better on paper. I will say this, though. Night 1, we had the Ouija board stuff, you know, in between the matches that we talked about last week. Night 2 was worse because we had what the fuck is their name? 4-leaf clover.
Metaphor. They did
Metaphor.
the haunted house. They did the haunted house gimmick. I did watch some of these, unfortunately. So
they did the haunted house gimmick dressed as the Scooby-Doo characters, and it was some of the worst shit that you'll ever fucking see on TV. It is just so bad. But, you know, the Creeds versus Garza and Carrillo, the tables, ladders, and scares, it was a fine little 3.5-star match, which Cage Match gave 8.73, which is just preposterous. Dom Mysterio, Nathan Frazier was fine. Dom just is never going to be good. He's just never, ever going to be good. He just exists. And
someone made and it's hard to make a comparison to, like, you know, when your father's Rey Mysterio Jr. or whatever, but Dom Mysterio is 26 years old right now. Okay, right?
Yeah.
Rey Mysterio was 26 in, let's get the exact year here, just kind of give you a reference of, and again, it's hard. That's a terrible comparison. I mean, it's tough to live up to that. By the year 2000, that's how old Rey Mysterio was by 2000. So think of everything that Rey Mysterio did.
Till WCW closed.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's where Dom's at right now.
Yeah, Dom, the thing with Dom is it's a good you're telling on yourself thing. If you think he's like legitimately good, or you think he's a real prospect, or you think if you talk this silly nonsense that he's going to be as good as Ray someday, like, you're telling on yourself that you don't know what you're watching, and you just buy into hype. You buy into the push. Like, you're their best customer if you believe that. Because when you watch him, it's very obvious that he isn't good, and he's never going to be good. And that they have done a masterful job here's the thing. They know he isn't good.
Of course they do.
And they've done a masterful job of presenting him in a way that hides the fact that he isn't good. They know that he stinks. Okay? So if you sit here and try to tell yourself that he's good, or you think that he's good, you're being worked. So good on them. They've done, obviously, a tremendous job with him because he isn't good. Braun Breaker destroyed Mr. Stone, and now Von Wagner is going to get in there with Breaker this week before his head injury has healed. That's the story.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So they had this segment where Wagner had the fucking what do you call it? Not rags, it would be bandages. He's
all bandaged up. Yeah, yeah.
And he's telling Mr. Stone, I'm going to get in there next week. And then he stops and goes, oh.
Because his head
Stone's
hurts.
like,
yeah.
And Stone's like, what? He's like, nothing, I'm fine. You know, it's just fucking NXT sucks. It sucks
great.
So bad.
Sounds awesome, Joe.
It's
I can't wait.
Fucking bad. And people will be like, it's great. Man, they so well booked. It's fucking garbage. Chelsea Green and Piper Niven defeat JC Jane and how you doing? And Thea Hale.
Couldn't pay me to watch that match, so.
Oh God. You know, Piper Niven is climbing my list of annoying wrestlers that I hate. I mean, I can't stand her. Thea Hale, obviously, a mainstay on that list for me. Lola Vice defeats Kalani Jordan. That stunk.
Oh, the breakout tournament. Yeah, how'd that go? Not great.
Well, here's how it would go. I love to give you the cage match ratings for the NXT matches.
No, I can't even imagine what this thing got.
And they're always like, and they're always like 8.9 for some 3-star match, right? Yeah. Because this got a 5.12.
Oh, this had to be the worst match ever. Then, holy shit!
Could you imagine how bad this was? Like that?
Holy
tell you how bad it was.
If the cage match inmates and the bots that infiltrate the WWE ratings were only able to get it up to a 5.6, holy crap! Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So then Ilya Dragunov and Carmelo Hayes, you saw their last match, right?
Oh, yeah.
That was allegedly the most physical match in WWE history.
It's not even Ilya Dragunov's most physical match in WWE history, but
that match was really good. This wasn't as good as that. So this was like 3.5, somewhere in that range, 3 3/4, and the finish was abysmal. They had Hayes was going up for his finish or whatever, and then Trick Williams' music hits. And then Dragunov takes advantage of that. Just a lazy derivative finish. Just, from Shawn Michaels is going to win Booker of the Year, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to prepare for that.
I know. I'm already prepared.
I've been on the Observer board, and that's where the voters are. And they're all about Shawn Michaels as Booker of the Year. So I want you to be ready for that. I want you to remember finishes like this when he wins the award. Just so lazy. And then Trick Williams got in the ring. And, it's the whole, look, eventually they're going to split and have a match. We all know that.
Yeah.
But he got in and they teased a little tension, but then Vic Joseph is like, oh, wait, something's happening. All right. And then the camera cuts and Ilya Dragunov, who, he exits stage left. He's like, all right, I defended my title. I'm out of here. Fuck these guys. But they go to him and through the curtain, he got jumped and attacked, Rich, by the next challenger. You want to know who it is?
Who you got?
Baron Corbin.
Oh.
Get into it.
Oh.
Ready for Baron Corbin versus Ilya Dragunov, Rich?
Oh.
Booker of the Year, Shawn Michaels?
No.
Yeah.
No.
So,
dear God.
So that's where we're going with NXT. Current cage match rating.
Why Baron
for night 2?
Why Baron Corbin?
You're still stuck on Baron Corbin, huh?
What? Who wants?
I don't know what to tell you, man.
All right,
Baron
whatever.
Corbin. Yeah.
Great.
8.69 for night 2, coming in below night 1. Oh, wait, was it below night 1? Night 1, no. Night 1 is now at 8.46. It was a little higher last week when we talked about it. But obviously, neither one of these shows were nearly, a 9-score show. That's preposterous. Night 1 was one of the worst shows of the year. If I was rating it 1 to 10, I'd probably give it like a 2, just by virtue of the main event. Halloween Havoc Night 2, if I was using the cage match rating scale, it was the better show. If I were to ignore the Scooby-Doo haunted house segments and just go by the wrestling, I'd give it like a 5.
Okay. All right.
It was average from that.
I'm never watching it, so I don't know why I'm like, oh, okay, all right.
You're like, oh, okay, all right, I'm gonna check that out.
I'm never watching it. Yeah. Dear God,
your voice is getting high. You're like, oh, okay, all right, yeah, I'll check it out.
Never gonna.
If you include all the bullshit in between, can't believe. So, who's the tank girl?
Shotzi, yeah.
So Shotzi.
Oh, the guest host, one of the guest hosts of Halloween Havoc.
Yeah, and Scarlett. They got replaced on this one in the middle of the show by whatever Kaylee Ray is called now.
Alba Fire, right?
Alba Fire.
And Isla Dawn, right? Isla Dawn.
My new least favorite wrestler, Isla Dawn. She
Isla
is so
Dawn,
fucking annoying.
Your new least favorite, Isla Dawn. That jumps up the ratings pretty good.
She has overtaken Thea Hale.
Wow.
She has overtaken Roxanne Perez. She has overtaken Johnny Hungy. She has overtaken Timeless Tony. She has overtaken Adam. She's my new number 1.
She's overtaken Roderick Strong? That's
yes.
Okay. Wow.
Because I know if Roderick Strong gets in the ring at some point, he's going to give people backbreakers.
He can still give guys backbreakers, and it'll still be good.
Right.
Yeah.
Isla Dawn. She does this awful, like overacting, like even more than the rest of the people in NXT. And I know we say this all the time, but it's truly straight out of porn. Like the way she's laughing and doing these over, like you're waiting for her and Alba Fire to fuck like their stepbrother or something. Like that's what you're waiting for. The way she over enunciates and overacts, and she does the fake porno laugh. Do you know the fake porno laugh?
I do.
Like,
I'm well aware.
Yeah, you know, all right. So picture a porn scene where it's like the classic. It's like the stepbrother is like on the couch watching the game, and it's the stepsister and the stepsister's friend, and they're wearing like booty shorts and no bra, and they're getting it in their head that, oh, we're gonna, let's fuck this guy. And then
he's
they
always
both
like already masturbating for some reason, like just out in the open, like. And they're like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, nothing." And then
maybe, but sometimes they don't even. It's not even
just,
like
yeah,
they're still like the girls are still scheming at this point, right? And they're dressed ready to fuck, and they always do, like one will whisper in the other's ear, and then they both do the fake porn laugh. Do you know the one I'm talking about now?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Where they're like, they throw their heads back and they do the fake porn laugh. Isla Dawn does the fake porn laugh every time she's on camera, and it drives me fucking nuts. And she does that enunciating NXT promo cadence with everything she says, and she's like, coming up next, Alba, we've got the women's tag team title match. And then she throws her head back and does the porn laugh. Like she's about to suck off her stepbrother. It fucking drives me nuts. So she is now my number one because she also stinks. So, it's a factor too. Can't stand her. And I had to deal with her this whole show. And like the other two the week before, they were changing outfits every 10 minutes,
Yeah, great.
Anyway.
Yeah, I think I'm going to watch that
review.
One. Don't think I'm watching that one.
I expect a full review from you next week. I want you to break down Aura Mensa in the haunted house as Shaggy getting chased by the monsters.
What was Shakara Jackson doing? What was she dressed as?
Same thing. She was dressed as Velma.
Okay, great.
Okay. Why all of a sudden has the Velma character become like a sex thing?
Oh, it's big sexy now. Yeah, I don't know.
I know, but why?
I
have never looked at Velma and thought, oh, I'd fuck her if she was real.
Well, I think that's I think they rebranded her to be. I don't know. I don't actually.
Anyone in their right mind wants to fuck the other one, the one that Fred's fucking.
Well, I think maybe they're trying to change it a little bit.
Why?
They want equal opportunity fucking. So
Velma stinks. She's got those dopey socks, those orange socks.
Well, maybe some people are into the nerd. That people are into nerd culture now. Maybe people are...
Okay, all right. Well, if that's true, how come when they do the sexy cosplay, they vamp her up? Why don't they want to look like her then if she's so hot?
I guess you're right.
You see what I'm saying? Like, you don't want to fuck Velma. You want to fuck someone who wears Velma's outfit in a slutty way. That's what you want to fuck. Right or wrong? Like,
not wrong. You're not wrong.
If you wanted to fuck Velma, when they do the sexy cosplay, they would get the stupid haircut, the glasses, the dump. She'd be all covered. Like, there's nothing attractive about the Velma. I'm breaking down the attractiveness. What's next?
We got to go home.
I break down Betty Boop here. I'm tired of sexy Velmas, Rich. What's the point?
Enough sexy Velmas. Well, thankfully,
I'm not
Halloween
turned on
is
by
over.
thinking about Velma.
Well, thankfully, the Halloween's over, so your ideas of being bombarded with sexy Velmas is probably over for a little bit. I would assume. So,
what's the other one's name? The one that fucks Fred. Hold on.
S Sky Blue. I don't know. S Sky Blue. She probably knows.
Oh yeah, that's another one. Yeah, the Scooby Doo gang. Let's see.
A lot of Scooby Doo in wrestling right now.
Daphne. Now, if you're going to be some sick pervert who wants to fuck a cartoon character, how you picking Velma over Daphne? How's that even possible? End the show, Rich.
We're done. Yeah, we got to go. This has gotten off the rails too much. But anyway, that is it for us.
voicesofwrestling.com for previews, reviews, and columns of all this stuff that we talked about. Voicesofwrestling.com/Patreon, patreon.com/voicesofwrestling, or flagshippatreon.com is how you subscribe to our Patreon. $5 tier, $10 tier. $5 gets you all of the bonus audio, including our very well-received Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame shows we've done so far. Tons of hours of talk about great wrestlers, past and present. Mostly past. There's some modern, but mostly past. But that's what you do there. But great stuff there. Rate reviews. We have another one posting probably by the time most of you guys listen to this. I think it's one of the best ones that we've ever done. Again, and I've said that a couple times about this year's batch of Wrestling Observer Audio, and I truly do believe that. But that other one is dropping sometime in the next, by the time most of you guys listen to this, I think both of those new ones will be up. $10 tier gets you access to our written content as well as live shows, including, I'm sure we'll do an instant reaction live for Full Gear. We're not that out on AEW all the way. I think we'll still do instant reaction live for Full Gear. The pay-per-views are still great. So you can subscribe to the $10 tier to get that, live flagships, all of the written content as well. I wrote a piece about just today about WCW and Surge and how it related to AEW and the new Ric Flair Woo energy drink, which, gosh darn it, we just did not get enough time to talk about Ric Flair's Woo with 5 O's energy, but I guess we'll talk about it another day. Probably not, though. Anyway.
I have nothing to say.
What do you want me to say about Woo energy?
Ric Flair's.
And Ric Flair's
I really have no take. Yeah. I don't know what I'm supposed to say about that.
Yeah. Would I employ Ric Flair in 2023? I wouldn't.
I couldn't possibly care less about that story at all. I just genuinely don't have a take. I just don't care.
Well, that's Ric Flair's Woo energy. If people asking if I'm going to do that on Rich Drinks, which we do sometimes, I'll review Mountain Dews and drink them behind the paywall. No, I'm not going to be having Woo energy. I'm pretty sure it would destroy me. My insides. I don't know what's in it, but I don't really want to find out what's in it. I'm not that interested in drinking Woo energy from Ric Flair, which he describes as an elixir. I'm not going to drink an elixir from Ric Flair. But anyway, that is it for us. That is Joe. I am Rich. Flagship Podcast. We'll talk to you again next time. Take care. Bye.
Hello there, everybody. It's me, Garrett Kidney, the co-host of You've Got to Be Kidding Me on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network.
And I am Liam Jones, my full name, and I'm also a part of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network as a co-host for You've Got to Be Kidding Me.
We are a TNA history podcast that covers TNA 1 month at a time. We cover all the drama, all the matches, all the Vince Russo nonsense you could ever want in your life.
Have you heard of TNA? I bet you have, but would it be funnier if 2 people made jokes over it the whole time? Probably.
So if that sounds like fun to you, check it out on this very Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network, and Liam will do bits and whatnot.